Hello.
Hello. Oh, there we go. So.
You're good. You're good.
Perfect. Yep. Just rebooted, so I had to make sure that everything was up and running, but it seems to be. So, yeah.
How was your how was the holidays?
It was good. It was kind of quiet, but not bad at all. So, yeah, so good. You had some yummy food and all that as well.
Oh yeah, you saw those pictures. You saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Shane got some fun stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah, we had a great time. Really good time. Good. Just playing downstairs now. Good, yeah. Anna and I are chat. That's good to hear. What's up, Gold Superior? Good to see you. Yeah, thanks for all the nice shout-outs you've been doing on Twitter as well. Really appreciate it. We're getting rolling here.
Yeah. We're all here too.
Godfather, good to see you. Big giveaway tonight, everyone. A real Best of Dragon Volume 3. Celebrate that 7,000th follower we just surpassed. So we got some. It sounds like we're gonna have a special surprise guest on tonight too. Two actually. And that's in addition to Tim. So I think this will really help the discussion tonight too.
Yep.
Because one has some first-hand knowledge from city adventuring with me for a long time, so I don't want to give it away, but this will be a real fun one. Awesome! Altair, thanks! Wow. See you both. Almost got a hype train well before 10 minutes before we get started, but thank you so very much. Hey, Lando. Yeah, belated, but that's okay. Happy holidays to everyone. Get back into the swing. Got a regular schedule this week of streaming. Not an enhanced schedule, but a regular. So, you know, well, tonight we do Wednesday night, Thursday night, Sunday night next week. I guess Sunday will be the 2nd. Oh my gosh. Hey, what's up, Patrick? Then I got to go back to work on the 4th. Oh my gosh. You just bumped up a hype train. That was cool, Patrick. He dinked it up a hair. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, we only got 12 people on right now. Rolling in. That was funny. Follow. Whew. Yeah, Merry New Year to you too, Tina. Tina, I can't show it, but I got a really nice gift that really helps with my portrait workshop. I don't want to show it off though too much, so because I don't have a holder for it or anything like that. Oh, look at that! It's 8 to the long right. I just went along right there. That's cool. Having some fun. Bing. Les is having some Wi-Fi issues. What's up, Coma? I haven't seen you in a bit. Good to see you. Coma, can you link to me once again, because I lost it and I apologize, the information for the 3D owlbear rug because I want to see what else he has. See what, because maybe want to get a couple other cool sculpts like that. Everyone loves that piece. So just whenever you get a chance. Griffin Company. Okay, that's it. Cool. Thanks. Look that up. Awesome. Thank you. But how do you do this, Bill? You can always, they're small pieces. They're real small. It's not like they're super difficult. Hey, Ralph, good to see you, man. Hey, we'll try our best here. I'm going to try, because we're going to be in a lot of theoretical here, but I'm going to give you some ideas, and then we'll go to some third-party publications with ideas and, some experiences. We'll do our absolute best to really go over some ideas to help with cities. I'll give you my background, too, on how that went. It was...
Yeah, I can tell you how unassuming my campaign is. We ran 24 sessions now, and I've only had 8 different types of monsters in the whole campaign.
Wow.
Yep, in all the sessions, only 8. Human carrion crawlers that they have actually fought. They've seen other monsters, but they've actually had combat with human carrion crawlers, skeleton, white zombie, orc, hobgoblin, and skullcrow. That's it.
Wow.
Nothing else. But
8 in 24 sessions?
In 24 sessions, yes. There have been many different types of humans and several different types of skeletons. And no, there's one more. They fought well, then it's technically a zombie. They fought a zombie troll too. So I'll make that 9 then. So, yeah, so zombie troll. So 9 different monsters in 24 sessions. Yeah. So my campaigns are probably bigger on story than combat, but there've been a fair bit of combat, but there has been kind of not that many different types of monsters. But some humans have been very powerful, some have been very weak, some have been necromancers, some have been fighters, and so on.
Well, it's based on the actual type of campaign you have going too,
but that will change though. That will change depending on where they are. But it's kind of, it just struck me. I made a list today and realized that no, it's not more than that.
I was going to say keep the hype train rolling here because I was going to say I was going to give a special a bonus like I did last time if we got to a certain level hype train. We're getting there.
Hello, Bill. Yeah, I had a good Christmas with lots of mapping, but some time off in between.
Thanks, Gargamon. I'm not going to change your mind on that, because it is. Oh! ZM with a boing! Alright. Boing. Die! Knocked it out of the park there. Oh, knocked it out of the park there. Boing. That'll do it. That kicked us over. So it's awesome. Very, very cool. Hopefully everyone had happy holidays too. Waiting for our special guests. Tim just texted me. He's like, don't we go on at 7:30? I'm like, no, that was like 2 months ago there, Tim, when we came on 7:30. Yes. No, it was a nice weekend. And I'm going to babble a little bit because we run a little long tonight. It won't matter. I'm going to babble a little bit before we start.
It's in between things.
Yeah. We can babble tonight. look at all those great things. There are some new emotes in there. There's some new night emotes in the chat that are available to any followers. They should show up. So. Let me hit this. That's cool, Wiley. Hey, Nicole. Hey, Alex. Hey, Budweiser. Wow. Everyone's hopping on. Night after Christmas. Thank you all for that. Completed level 3. That was awesome.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, that was very, very kind. Papas. Yeah, I'm going to go over that a little bit from the ashes. A little bit, because there's stuff in there that enhanced the original Free City Graph box set. So that's I got my scraggly, completely destroyed books for that. So I got a whole pile of stuff. It turned into it went from a small pile to a huge pile because of a couple of requests. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And whoever comes on tonight comes on. So, come on 2 minutes early. City adventuring. All right, Anna, let me just pop it off like that. So we got Anna on with me just now. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Hope you all had a nice one. Anna, how about you? Have a nice one?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. So
I got some work done too, but it was relaxing. I did. Oh yeah, mapping wise, but I can't get rid of it. I need to get the kick off the new year with the new map version. So I had to, but I took it a little bit easy. I've done a little bit more flight simming and I've hiked and stuff. So
well, it's
yeah.
That's cool. As for me, you know, we had people over on Christmas Eve. That was very nice. We had a very relaxed day yesterday. You know, after my son opened up all his gifts and all, it was very cool.
He's at that age when Christmas is fantastic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then we have you know, today was just watch football day, relax. And I forgot to do like half the things for the presentation. So there's a 3-bagger here.
Oh
so,
wow!
Yeah.
Any
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, your dad is. Oh, there we go. There we go. So I got 3 generations of Sheetses here.
One.
Yeah. I didn't see that, Alex. Was it good? I didn't see that.
3 generations of D&D right here.
That's awesome.
That's
so
super.
The ever mysterious Tim joins me with the ever mysterious John. And well, do we have a name for and
Mark?
Well, what's Mark's BattleTech character's name?
He isn't. Oh, what's your BattleTech?
Big Joe. Big Joe, and we got Big Joe with us too. So, and this is great because one of the get out. All right, so we did get that level 3, and that's where my goal was, hype train wise. So tonight, to celebrate 7,000 followers. We ever think that? Oh my gosh, John! Remember in the good old days when we had like 250 to start things off back in.
Yeah.
You know, it's been and by the way, the just mystery mark that's good, Bill. Mystery mark. I gotta give me 1 second here because I'm once again my brain is off making a recent events here. Make sure we're good. Okay, so we did get a new follower, Erwam. Thank you. While we're off, thank you for all the chats and the gift subs. So tonight, to celebrate that, we're gonna give away 3 things. Yes. Oh, thanks, Patrick, for doing that for Gargamon. So this is not a reprint. This is an original Best of Dragon Volume 3. This will be the 7th one I've given out. Every 1,000 up to 10,000 followers. Don't, you know, I shit these out. I'm not going to tell you how I get them every time, but yes. So I do. I have us here, and I got 3 more to get to us 8, 9, and 10,000. So we will have that. But we got 2 other sets of stuff too, because the normal giveaway I was going to do to celebrate this discussion tonight is City Sites and the Book of Taverns together. Okay. So that gives you a good one for City Adventuring to help out. Both very good books. Put them together in one. But since we hit our hype train goal before we even started tonight, how about a reprint of my favorite adventure of all time to add to it? A reprint of The Temple of Elemental Evil. All right.
Nice.
Yes, that'll be the bonus one tonight with one of the greatest monsters of all time. I heard someone complaining about this monster the other day, and I was like, "Are you crazy?" I once fought 6 of these at once too, because of Tim. But yeah. Well, of course. Who else? And that would be
The Juggernaut.
The Juggernaut is it? Yes. Yeah. So there you go. Well, thank you. And John, it's great to have you here. Now, Les Reno, Oblivion Seeker, is supposed to be on too. He's going to try and get on because Les has a lot of specialty stuff. And we'll see if he makes it at some point. But it's good to see you, John. Hope you had a happy holidays and Merry Christmas as well. And
yes, we did.
Great. This is perfect timing to have John too, because John has a lot of experiences from city adventuring with the Iron Brigade, with his 2 characters, Abdul Amir and Petronius Niger Took. The one's a halfling druid thief. He's like 12-12, which is disgusting. And then I believe it's it's gross. And also Abdul
with a halfling.
Yes, and the good thing is he had a rivalry with another small character, and they really don't like each other, and they did all sorts of awful things to each other. Oh, here comes Les too. So we got Oblivion Secret on too to help me out. So Pile,
who is this invisible conjurer?
Yes. So we got 3 giveaways tonight. Please feel free to sign up. We'll do them at the end of the night. We'll do, in order. Best of Dragons is not a reprint, so I'm assuming that'll go first. But yeah. So this pile went from a small pile like this big, right, with stuff I was going to discuss. Then everyone started asking and all these questions. So I got to add all this stuff in. And now the City State, that's a 3rd edition one. Tim was already going to discuss his City State game, the original old school one, but that's the 3rd edition replay. But these are all other city books, and I know Les knows a fair amount about them, so that's why I wanted to invite Les on and discuss. And thank you for hopping on at such short notice, man.
Hey, no problem, man. Always glad to be around.
Yeah, great. And it's great to see you and hear you. So our first, 15 to 20 years, 15, I was scared to death of running city campaigns. But,
yeah.
And kind of,
I don't know if you were scared, you just didn't.
Right.
Until the solo adventure, right?
Right. Yep. Until the solo adventure. But that Highport was the first one we kind of did. But that that was Highport one-on-one adventuring. So and then we in your City State Invincible Overlord, we rarely went into the city state itself. We stayed outside for the most part during that time.
Right. It was mostly adventuring in the world, and then the city state was this thing that was in a distance, and then you got up close to it, and then you got embroiled within it.
Right, exactly.
And around it, mostly in the county around it, as opposed to you didn't live inside too much.
No.
But you did stay inside for a while, but it was very you didn't like urban life there.
Definitely not. Les, Anna, early on when you first started DMing, did you stay away from large city scale operations?
No, in the beginning I was kind of keen on them. I think we ventured in Furbobonk and Greyhawk and stuff, but then I realized the complexity because I didn't take city serious enough the first couple of years. So we just hammered through, and I just winged it, and it was. For what we played at the time, I think it was okay. I think the players liked it, but I realized quickly that I wanted more depth. And when I started I wanted my setting to, or my stories to be deeper and more into the setting. And that's when I had a period when it was like, oh, this is overwhelming. And now I'm starting to get back to them again. But I try to make the city part of the landscape around it, so to speak. So that is it's key. A lot of city adventuring seems to be the city in a setting of itself, and the rest of the world doesn't seem to bother much. And I want to know what makes the city tick, meaning what goods come in, why is there a city in the first place, and to get the character of the city, so to speak. So I've been much more aware of all these kind of higher level stuff in it. So I'm getting back into it, and I'm also starting to figure out tools how to deal with that kind of, what do you do when you try to present 100,000 individuals to the players or the characters?
It's tough. It's really tough. How about you, Les, on that?
I incorporated cities fairly early. Probably because I was a big fan of like Fritz Lieber's Lankhmar and Robert E. Howard's Shadizar the Wicked, and even Dickens' London or Shakespeare's London. They have these great kind of vibes to them. The London that you get in some of the and of course it's extrapolated. In Shakespeare, you have Venice, you have all these other areas, but the way that the cities operate in the Elizabethan imagination captured me when I was, a young lad, and I loved living cities. I love dead cities too, which is something we don't really think about, which would be like, like the Edgar Rice Burroughs Mars books, where you have these abandoned cities.
Oh, interesting.
And I like if this makes sense, I like thinking of the living city as the kind of forerunner of the dead city. In other words, if this city were to die today, what would be frozen in time? What remnants of the civilization would linger? What things are the players looking at now that if this were a dead city, they'd be going, what the hell is this thing? And beyond that, also, I agree with Anna. Like, what is the economy and the various economies, not just the stuff coming into the city, but the desires generated within a city itself.
Yeah.
By the population, by the culture, by kinks, and by class. What are these, and how do they operate on human beings? And how do they shape the way that economic and social and class relationships work? Like, how does desire inform all that, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's just, I know early on I was scared to death because there wasn't any detail. There were, like, really, until and I'm going to do my quick flip screens deal until of course everyone knows this wonderful publication came out, and that changed everything because I felt more comfortable at that point. I was like, oh my gosh, look at all this detail. But it was like something. This was out of my realm of ever creating on my own. In this level of depth at this point. I'm like, they got guilds, they got normal everyday guilds you would find in real medieval world life in here. And I'm like thinking to myself, I would never thought of that. The Guild of Brewers, the Guild, I would never thought of any of this stuff. And that was where, it is the best source book ever, Raphael. I agree 100% with that, and I utilize this to this day. And John was huge in the first group we ran in here, which was called the Iron Brigade, and you've heard a lot about them. And we'll tell a couple stories because John's probably got some funny ones. Really, well, maybe not so funny because I remember some bad things happening. I remember John's character. I remember Abdul got smashed by run over by a juggernaut in one adventure back in the Lord's Tomb, which was kind of funny. But yeah, here are the two books that comprise that. My box set.
He got better.
He got better. Also, this is sealed. This was donated. Look, it's even got the old tag. How much was this? When he bought it, it was $18. So this is a donation from Jeremy, from my sponsor. Wonderful Gamescape 3D, and this is going to be one of the giveaways during our fundraiser that we do for St. Jude. All right. So note that we got some really, really nice people out there that are giving us some great things down the road. Yeah, definitely. So I was just, Tim, I know you and I were running around doing Highport stuff in the 90s. I don't know if it was right around when this came out, but
yeah.
That was
Well, I was
Go ahead.
I was going to say that it was running away, and I wanted to highlight a few things for people who are intimidated by doing cities using that sort of model. You know, so I don't know if you want to talk about the game first, and then we can review the things that I think that are important, the minimum things you need just to be able to run people into town.
Well, sure. I mean, we can discuss that, like a minimum thought process on what you need to do. And most city adventures start out really sandboxy.
Yeah,
Because you want them to like experience everything. You know,
it's a city.
It's a city, yes, and there's a lot to do. But then go ahead.
Well, you establish quarters. You know, the types of places, big chunks of a city. You know, and then you pick, you know, key neighborhoods or important neighborhoods. You know, a few key shop locations, couple political factions is thrown in there, and then key people or types of people that are interesting that you might run around. You know, have a little cache of interesting characters to bounce into, and that's all you need. You don't need anything else. I mean, to do a quick down and dirty run, and you're going to do some improvisation on the fly, but that's all you need. And I mean, that's what you were kind of drawing stuff out as we were doing it.
I was,
you know, like
I was,
and then you were coming up with names on the fly and writing them down, and it was real fun. It was super fun.
It was a blast. It's just I could never do that again live stream, or I'd be banned permanently.
Well, you'd have to change the names.
Yes. Yeah, I'm not very good at the top of my head of bringing up names that aren't X-rated or R-rated or really bad. So
yeah, it wouldn't fly very well.
What was that? What was that, Les?
Change the names to protect the guilty.
Yeah, I'd have to.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I tend to like to have locations, names, and people written down, because if I got to come up with stuff on the top of my head, who knows what I'm going to come up with. But note that was Highport, and then we moved into Greyhawk, and just fell in love with this box set. Now this map is Malden's map, but someone highlighted all the roads on it. I'm not sure if Malden did this or not, but I love the way this is done. And note that I'm starting to convert over my Greyhawk to the Malden map as opposed to the Free City Greyhawk box set map, which I think this one's it got a little more detail to it, but it's really nicely done, and allowed for a ton of, hey Taryn, allowed for a lot of options. No Johnny Holmes, but you're close. We had a lot of stuff like that. You know, I have a lot of stuff like that in my BattleTech too there, Alex. I mean, Jenna Jameson's the reporter on Solaris 7, so you can get an idea where my head was back then. So, but yeah, you're absolutely right. So, as far as everyone else, well, how did you start? Like, did you reference-wise? What was your first reference you used in a city planning session? Who wants to go with that? I know what yours was, Tim. Yours is the Wild Lands, right? Yeah.
I'll jump in. With most of the stuff we had been doing had been dungeon crawls and villages here and there.
Yeah.
But Gygax's A Saga of Old City.
Oh, the book.
Yeah, gave me just enough on, like, you know, okay, here's Clerksburg, here's the Low Quarter, where I lifted some details and just started elaborating on it and coming up with, you know, characters who knew these characters, like locals who knew these locals. Yeah. So that was kind of my thing.
Wow,
and then
same thing for me. That was,
and then I'd lift
City. Yeah.
I'd lift stuff from, like, my reading from Lankmar, or from, like, you know, if I read a book about, like, medieval Paris or something, I'd take stuff from that and I'd file off the serial numbers and stitch it onto that and Frankenstein the whole thing together and just make it up as I went on with it, guys. So,
you know, one of the things you know, having a limited budget back then, I should have bought the Lankmar stuff because I knew it was popular back, and I didn't. I wish I had that Lankmar book. It's one of the ones I don't have. Do you have that, Tim? You have Lankmar?
No,
we don't. But we had City State of the World Emperor, and then City State of the Invincible Overlord. Now,
and I have Modron as well. Modron is it's a small. I won't say it's a city, but it's a town on a river, and that's pretty good. It's pretty full.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like back then, because I think the Lankmar stuff came out after Gygax left.
Oh, it did?
So
Okay.
I was having to coast on the stuff that was in the original stories and novels.
Yeah.
And just basically, you know, there were like what? Originally there were 6 books. I think there were 7 finally, but 1 novel and the rest were short story and novellas collections.
Okay.
And I just take material from them. Like there's a bunch of stuff about the nature of the city where you have the gods. I was just mentioning in chat, you have the gods of Lankmar and the gods in Lankmar. The gods in Lankmar are basically all the gods who everybody worships, right? But there are these.
There it is, Anna. Nice.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You have these ancient pre-founding figures of horrible power and reputation called the gods of Lankmar. They're the city's actual gods.
So,
and I kind of love the idea.
It says that indeed these are demigods too, doesn't it?
Yep, they have the gods of Lankmar in there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, very cool.
And it came with this map.
Nice. I know Jason loves to use that for Greyhawk.
Yeah, this map is fantastic, both in style, I think, but it also has an interesting, I don't know if it's an innovation, positive innovation, or if it's just kind of makes things more difficult. But what they have are these gray squares in here, and these are generic geomorphs.
Fill-ins, the fill-in spots?
Yes, and it came with a booklet like this, and the booklet had these geomorphs, a whole bunch of them. So you simply select one of these geomorphs and fill in the details, and then you give them a number and say that's the geomorph so and so on the big map, so to speak. And I don't know if it's actually making it better or just complicate things. I'm kind of torn.
That was the issue with City State of the World Emperor.
Yeah,
which is huge.
I like the geomorphs, so to speak. I've actually used these for city design, so to speak. But
I think the City State of the Invincible Overlord is a lot better than the World Emperor.
Yeah, because it's everything's placed. I mean, you can move stuff around, but oh my gosh, that was
World Emperor would take you like a couple days to cross it.
Yeah,
and we should probably clarify for newcomers that the city states of the World Emperor and Invincible Overlord are these older publications from Judges Guild. That I think were some of the first publications of their kind, really.
That was some of the first third-party stuff for D&D period, I think.
Yep, definitely.
Well, in the City State of Invincible Overlord, they place all the things, but at each establishment, there's a little remark in asterisk, and it's, in italics, and it's a rumor or some sort of adventure hook or some sort of thing that at every single shop. There's hundreds of them, and each one has like a little unusual little thing you can figure out or find out, or some other little thing that can prime your imagination if you need something for the people to look into or do. It's very minimalistic but full of a lot of things.
Yeah, I got turned off by that when I was, I don't know what year it came out, 78, 79, whenever that World Emperor came out, and it was like it was too much for me as a youngster. But when this came out, the Invisible Overlord that I have up, that was great because, man, that was easy to do, easy to work with, and everything was placed. There's stuff in there now that you can't have it. And we talked about this a lot. We don't have to go through that, what was going on with the company out there with one of their new publications. But those books have stuff that you just couldn't do today. But there is that 3rd edition version of it that I have, and that's this. It is. So, and that was a Sword and Sorcery book. So I imagine you may be able to still get this in limited or reprint, or not reprint, but in PDF from Frog God's site. So really cool. It's got a real nice color map because the original map was in brown and brown.
Yeah.
But that was. Well, it's good to hear. I noticed I dropped a couple frames, so I don't know if it's on my end. I didn't tell my son that my son's downstairs playing because who knows what he's doing on his Xbox, and he's maybe playing some MMOs or something, cranking out, sucking all the bandwidth out, even but that's all right. It's fine. So back to Greyhawk real quick, and then we'll move on from there. Some ideas. I know Ralph is on, and if you have this, you have everything you need as far as at your every single resource you can think of, you can pull out of here. There is baddies, there's evil organizations, there's this shape changers, right? There's and they do some really crazy stuff where they use one of polymorphing and then sell the body parts off. It's really disturbing. The cult of the shriven sickles here. There's no reason why I use agents can't be here, depending on your time frame. You got the Assassins Guild, you got the Thieves Guild, and you got the Thieves Guild conflicts that we discussed on Wednesday night's Legends and Lore. You even have an adventuring party. You have a great one. You have the Torch of Anazander's group. You have the Fellowship of the Torch here. So you have that. You have there's adventure cards in with this set, and there's stuff going on in the city as well that relate to the adventure cards. You have multiple personalities that you can use in connection. You have gambling. You have one of my favorite characters. You have Estrella, who's the Greyhawk Dragon, and we did an entire series of adventures on her where she pretends that feigns getting kidnapped. John, you remember that when the Royal Opera diva got kidnapped, and it turned out it was a Greyhawk Dragon. John was adventuring in that with his characters back in those days too. Also, the War with the Thieves Guild was really good when you actually put in players in your group, and you kind of have agents of your adventuring groups in with the Thieves Guild. Now, that doesn't mean your entire group of adventurers has to be thieves, right? You got to remember that. You don't need to overcommit. Go ahead, Tim.
The cloak and dagger aspect of either a guild war or whatever agency, but the cloak and dagger aspect of the playing D&D, it's the best time to use it in a city, and it always keeps them scared.
Yep,
you can always scare the crap out of them, and that's always good.
Well, that's where I'd say I made a recommendation to someone earlier today, where I was talking about if you need plots for urban adventures, right? Take your favorite film noir, or take something like a later noir like LA Confidential, all the way back to the Maltese Falcon. File off the serial numbers and just boil down to the plot points, right? And then ask yourself, how would this operate in a city with magic, and what players within Greyhawk would be involved?
Yeah. And
then you can add, if you think about how paranoid noir can be, right? Your girlfriend turns out to be like we're sleeping with a mobster. The bartender, it turns out, is dealing drugs on the side. All this other kind of stuff that you wind up with in like a Cold War thriller or a noir or something like that, and just snowball the effect. Or have it where there actually are genuine innocents around you who your characters wind up caring about or doing business with. And you want to protect those people from these bad, crazy people. The problem is finding out who the bad, crazy people are, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Michael Zudrak, thank you for the resub. So I'll make it specific to Greyhawk. Let's roundtable this. What's up, Josh? A suggestion if you're going to adventure in Greyhawk City. I'm going to make suggestion number 1 to everyone out there. Don't go big deal right off the bat. I'm sitting right here with Mordenkainen in the Circle of 8. Don't go there. Okay? Start small. Start with a little issue somewhere on a street. It could be the People's Constables harassing players. Yep. Oh, there you go. Yes. Create a little neighborhood. Yes. Locales. Absolutely. People.
Just a couple.
Yep. Tim's absolutely right. Yeah. Keep it simple.
You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
And you don't want, I would say, don't get too detailed in map. Pardon me, map people. But I think having a detailed map almost handicaps you, because if you want them to go around the city, what are you going to do? You're going to have them walk, and now they got to pick a route, and
you're whopping.
Caught into the and be.
That's on Tim. Tim, we're losing you.
Can you hear me now?
You're wonking in and out. Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
So what I said, you don't want to too detail the map. Is it okay? Can you?
Yeah, it's good now.
Yep.
It's good.
Mhm.
Okay. You don't want too detailed the map. You want to have, because you don't want them to get into the weeds of figuring out each road and alley. And if you want them to cross the city to get a plot point, you want to be able to fast track it. And so having too many details actually gets in the way.
In some instances, you're
So-
correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And
You're,
so,
you're correct because as far as dragging out things, it's a good point. John, Anna, Les, any suggestions on like do's and don'ts on starting up something in the city, a city campaign?
Yeah, I found that starting in the city was great because you just needed to get the details of the bar or the tavern,
Yeah.
wherever they
Yep.
were holding up. And then you could go from there out somewhere in the suburbs, do something and come back. And over time, you expand the detailed places by starting in different places or ending up in different places. I found that to be pretty helpful and not so backbreaking labor-wise.
It's a good point, John, because like I have up now our little photocopied map of the Noble Pawn, which is and then we used a lot back in those days. You know, it was actually an IUZN safe house that they took and rescued, and then Bill's character Galena bought it later on, and all of our action in those early days was based in this area off of River Street. So much that and now I got to find it. So much that I actually one of the first city areas and look, there's no underlay. This is like 2018 at some point, you know, and it's all in Miniature Building Authority. This is River Street actually, and there's the inn immediately to the right of the Noble Pawn. So we actually did this up on the table, you know, back in the day when we first started streaming. So some ideas there. And John, you're absolutely correct on that. That was a great point, is that you want to, start off somewhere and expand outward. It's a great point. Go ahead, Tim. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go Anna or Les. Any comments on that?
I think one thing you don't need to make the city the main thing just to start out in the city. Start with not having it the target of a campaign or anything. Have it as a place where they go to either start the adventure and where they get instructions or find the quest giver or however you start it, or you can do the other way around. Have it a place where they dump the treasure and have a little bit of R&R in between, so to speak. So that way you can get yourself slowly develop things. You don't go to a city and then assume that we're going to do the next 30 sessions having a major campaign, because then you have a lot of work on your hands, so to speak. So start out small and let the city be introduce the settlement where there's a huge city or just a small city or a large town. Then start out small and simple. Have the characters go through, something happens and there is a fight there or something like that, and then reintroduce it later, because it's a lot of nostalgia for players to come back to a settlement again and again, rather than spend the whole adventure being in the city. That's one way of spreading out your planning efforts, so to speak, instead of planning everything for one set of sessions. So that's one thing. But also then limiting, meaning planning a bar, that's might sound weird, but you can actually have like 5 sessions in a large inn, and you can have at a court, for instance, or at the mayor's office trying to do something, or a guild office, or defend the structure against some nefarious whatever intrusion or something like that. They could give you 5 sessions of just having one building and all the stuff that happens there while you planning other things for them to do later on, so to speak.
Les, how about you on Greyhawk?
I think this is good for Greyhawk as a city, or any of the cities in the Flanaess, or a city in general. Anna touched on something there that I think is important, which is the idea that you return to a location. If you're going to do that, don't be afraid to change it over time.
Yep.
And this ties into something else that I want to touch on, which is the degree of character familiarity with the place. Like, are they just passing through, or are they going to set this up as a base of operations? And how much investment do they have in the people that they do business with or around them?
Yep.
Because, you know, here's the thing. I mean, like, are you doing a favor for this merchant because you have a long-term goal, or because you need something from him immediately? And if it's a long-term goal, it establishes a different sort of relationship. And what happens when you come back and you find out that his daughter has been kidnapped? Or that he's been murdered? And again, that people, as you grow used to a city, people have their secrets and their pasts. You know, having spent, you know, lived 20 years in the French Quarter, I can tell you that you uncover different layers of different people's personalities and histories over time. Nobody's going to come up front and tell you, oh, by the way, I used to be a spy for Ayers, but then I turned over and I became a Fulton, and blah, blah. No one's going to tell you their full backstory up front, or few people will. So you can take an NPC and slowly unfold layers and complicate the players' lives through their relationship with the NPCs.
And that's an important thing, is the interrelationships with characters that are going to be recurring. That's a great point. Definitely.
I remember the first time, I'm pretty sure it was Jay, we didn't leave the city. We went in, something happened, we had some reason to do something, and then instead of going out into the countryside, into the peaceful farms and so forth, we're in this wretched city where we went from warehouse to dungeon to sewer, and you know, it was, I remember still, this was probably 20 some years ago, remember the surprise of, what, we're staying in the city? What's wrong with
exactly. Yeah, it was outside. Hey Megan, it was outside of our comfort zone at that point. It was completely outside. Oh my gosh, there's an entire sewers seem to be the ultimate place for that, but there's a lot of other you know, just even basements of some places were, you know, really you know, could really be nasty, and it took some time. It really did, John. That's a great point.
I was going to say too that the breadcrumb thing. I love little twists. Like, I've done this to my players before, where there's a bartender they know and love, right? And I think I did this actually in Divers. There's a bartender they know and love, and it turns out they're hunting down someone who's responsible for distributing some drugs in the neighborhood that they've moved into. It's a particularly potent form of Black Lotus. You know, I had to do my little Robert E. Howard nod. And at any rate, it turns out that the bartender owed a gambling debt to these mobsters, and was actually.
Whoop! We lost Les.
We got a Wi-Fi.
He pulled a Jason on us.
Yeah, exactly. A buffer thingy.
Yeah.
It will come back in a couple of seconds, and then it will be buffering. Yep.
Oh, I never did that.
How long were you doing this?
There you go.
Yeah,
yep.
We lost you for about 15 seconds, Les.
Yep.
Oh, well, at any rate, the big reveal is that the bartender was in debt to the mob and had actually been dealing the drugs as well.
Oh.
They didn't know it, and so now they're in the position of having to interrogate their dear friend. Who are your connections? How long have you been doing this? And why, man? Why didn't you tell us? Why couldn't you trust us?
Turncoats, or
you wouldn't understand.
Yeah, exactly. Turncoats are
my
awesome.
gambling debt.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So another suggestion is do something you're comfortable with, and for me, comfort level and fun for me is lists, or like it's almost like fantasy football for me, but with D&D. So I wrote this. This is from Earth Journal 29, and I wrote the Free Swords of Greyhawk City article. And in this, I talk about how I love having, there was a Mercenary Guild Hall, and I love Mercenary Guild Halls in all my cities, the big ones. So Altamira, Hardby, and Greyhawk. Because with this publication, the Free City Greyhawk box set, and even more From the Ashes, they note multiple adventuring groups that you can interact with. So you have Fellowship of the Torch, Corellan's Arrows, the Breakers, the Gnarlymen, the Fighters of the Light, which is where I originally got them from, my favorite Foltest people. They're all published source. And so what I did was I took them and we merged it into our adventuring campaign. And this was as of when this was written. I guess this is 2019 or 2020, whatever year this one was written. And here's a listing of all of the groups, and they get a ranking, and you can go in and hire them. And so it's mixed in with published source and regular. Tim, you're going to say something? You're leaning.
It's almost like BattleTech.
It almost is, isn't it? It almost has that feel to it. But it promotes rivalries. It promotes sometimes cooperation, and it gives your group someone to really maybe despise too.
This is a little off a little bit, but what happens if there's a mercenary group that doesn't join the guild?
They don't.
What's the repercussions?
They cannot take posted adventuring mission. Yeah, right. They cannot take.
What if they try to? What happens?
What happens?
Yeah. What would you do in the campaign if somebody's trying to? This is the hint for DMs who have players that are trying to go around the guild. What do? You have to have something planned for if they try to. I'm not going to join the Thieves Guild. I'm just going to pick the pockets on my
right.
own.
And that's what I always say. I'm not joining the Thieves Guild
itself. Yeah.
I'm not joining a Thieves Guild. Now there could be some underhandedness going on, and that happens occasionally. Yeah, they could get roughed up, or they're just not. Who in their right mind is going to mess around with? Because everything's run by the Thieves Guild anyway, and Greyhawk. Who's going to mess around with them?
You can always imagine like the Watch or some security or whatnot suddenly turning all Pinkerton on them, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, yeah, you guys, you aren't part of this. You aren't part of our group. We're going to have to break some heads.
I always
anonymous source has told me that you're keeping bags of gold you haven't taxed
yet.
Right. And that's
exactly.
And Ralph, that's another thing. This book, you can tax your players to death.
Yep.
You can give them free sword permits. You can they got to join the Magic Users Guild. All sorts of things. The People's Constables can harass them. So do it, and that'll sink in, because then they're going to try and start smuggling stuff into the inn as well. And then you don't want to gold taxation, import fees, all sorts of real fun little minutiae you can really drive them nuts with.
Oh, you need change. There's a 10% change fee for changing gold to silver.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not the right coinage.
Yeah.
Tim J, that'll be another thing. Is you notice we were talking there about the legitimate jobs that these adventurers would be hired for. Well, there you go. Maybe your players wind up stuck with all the illegitimate jobs and the dicier jobs.
No, that's a great point, and that happens a lot because, and I always say this just to be infuriating, but I've said this multiple times to like a lesser group like the Windborn or whoever else in whatever city it is. I'm like, well, no one else is available, so we're stuck with you.
Yep. or everyone else might report their stuff for tax purposes. You won't.
Exactly. But
this is off the books.
but no, this is an opportunity to create that campaign setting where okay, this one group, I've got them up to 12th level now, and they're like the highest rated. And we're going to don't ever retire, this is my opinion, don't ever retire characters or adventuring groups in your campaign, ever. If they go off and they do professions or they own bars or whatever, that's one thing. But keep them at least so you have it. You can actually grab them in and utilize them.
Yep, use them as a resource.
Yeah, resources. That's the one thing I don't get. I'm going to go on my soapbox for 10 seconds. I can't stand these adventuring paths. I run from 1st to 10th, and 1st to 12th, and 1st to 20th, and then we're done. All right, great. I would rather turn it into an entire setting. And even if you never use them again, at least they're there. So semi-retirement, that's it. We have a lot of semi-retired characters in my campaign. So.
I totally agree with you. I think it's ideal. I know Carlos and others have done this, and in my own campaign, I've done this to some extent, where you have like the pre-gens from old modules, and they'll turn up as older characters, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Funkin' Heidi Peak from the G series is like in the third in command of the Order of Ulick.
Yep. Basically, it's like because these characters, if they survive their adventures, think of all the tales and knowledge that they have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're great resources. They're great role playing opportunities. You know, because they're looking at these younger adventurers. You kids of today have it easy. You know, with your high level spells and everything, with your 5th edition, curse you. I'm kidding, of course, but it's only somewhat. But yeah, I mean, that'd be the thing, is to go ahead and you can utilize those kinds of personalities and have them age over time and have changed over time. Maybe they're a little grumpier now.
Yeah.
Maybe they're a little more laid back. But they've seen things, man. They've seen things.
I love that aspect of it, and some people, I mean, hey, you DM however you play, as long as your players are having fun, that's all that matters. But I see, you know, maybe that's just me being the old fuddy-duddy that I am, playing for 42 years, but I just see it as an opportunity. Never let a character go to waste, you know?
Yep.
You know, that character has its experiences wherever you are, whatever. Even if you say, well, how did they get there? Well, you know, it could be 5-10 years later in your game, you know. So I know
they got tired of all the manual labor, and they've gone for a low level political job, or you know, a desk job somewhere.
So, like, for example, Anna, John's characters, I still have them active in the groups, you know, in case John ever is able to hop back in. It's not a big deal, you know. You got to have that. So
you should keep them as NPCs. That's what I do, and then occasionally so I keep them as NPCs, and that is also a good measure if the characters fit into the campaign or not. The characters should fit in the campaign well enough that if the player leaves and the character becomes playerless, so to speak, it should be a nice fit to make them NPCs in the campaign.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was a Sudrak 576 asked a good question.
Yeah.
Is it easier to map a city or to DM urban adventures? That's a good question. And the interesting thing, I think, with mapping, city mapping, is that city mapping, at least for me in the style that I map and game, is that city mapping is way more closer to DMing than overland maps. When I map like wilderness and stuff, then I can just think about the nature. I don't need to think much about the adventuring and DM. I make cool landscapes, and you don't think much about it, so to speak. But when it comes to mapping settlements where there is a village and up to a big city, I haven't done anything larger than large towns yet with like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people, but that's starting to be almost city-like in size. Then then you get much closer, especially when I map at the scale I'm doing now for my Shieldlands campaign. I get so straight into DM prep. It's more like game prep for me. I'm starting to think, how is this working? Who rules this place? Who runs the inns? And who lives outside the walls? Who lives inside the walls? Where do they dump their dead? And who has the most money? And where are the desperate, needy ones that go around stealing? Where's the Thieves Guild? And who runs the underworld? Is there an underworld? Is there a dungeon? All these kind of questions go through my mind, and I'm trying to figure out both what the city looks like, and then also cool kind of thing. Okay, what kind of things will come up when you walk through the streets? Who will be there to harass the characters, to try sell them things, to help them, and so on and so forth, and all these kind of cultural things that meaning a city should be full of impressions, meaning you can walk all day through a landscape and nothing happens more than the view might be interesting and so on, and nothing happens. And if you walk like 100 feet in a big city, there should be 10 encounters with people trying to sell you things, steal things from you, just yelling out doomsday is coming, or enroll you in a cult, or just telling you that your horse pooped on the streets, you have to pick it up, or whatever. All these kind of things that might happen, so to speak. Cities need to be target-rich environments. Otherwise, they don't feel like big cities. Meaning, big cities should be full of smells, ugly people, wonderful people, unobtainable, whatever, and all sorts of stuff, so to speak. That's the
having a lot of random tables is helpful.
Yeah,
and determining unique, weird things on major streets. That are, you know, what's unique to the street.
Excuse me a second. Speaking of weird things, Anna, did you know your familiar is loose?
Oh yes, she wants more treats. So yep, she wants more treats. Yep. Yep, we have to feed her more treats.
So Tim, that actually reminds me. I was going to I've recommended this a few times, but a fairly recent publication, like the last couple of years, Gabor Lux, Hungarian old school guy, published a booklet which you can pick up in PDF form on the Drive-Thru RPG for like $6. It's 60 pages, and it's called The Nocturnal Table. And basically, it is a series of tables for generating urban encounters. One of the examples it gives on the blurb would be that you come across a bunch of night watchmen who are burying one of their own as the body of one of their own to his final rest. You have a thief catcher or a beggar catcher who's looking for some characters who are willing to assist him in some shady business. All these are randomly generated, and they're just sometimes it's mysterious cryptic graffiti on a wall, or generating different types of cults and their locations. Their
Thank
worshiping.
you, Alex. Alex linked it.
Yeah, great stuff. Highly recommended.
Very cool.
If you ever get stuck, just pick up one of those tables and either look at it to pick it for ideas, or do some rolling, and it'll unstick you in no time.
Yep.
Awesome.
Judging going into another advice the same way, make sure you make generic NPCs, meaning you should have the watchmen of the city, and make like 10 different versions or 5 different versions depending on if they're like a sergeant or the regular one. Make some of them good at melee, some of them good at kind of be beefy close up and stuff, and then you kind of mix and match. You make 10 different stat blocks for watchmen, and then you can mix and match each patrol as you see fit, so to speak, and then make the same thing for people that work in bars or other establishments and stuff that the characters come in, meaning have 5 different barmaids and 10 different bouncers and a generic set of patrons. They can be in any bar. They can just change names of and just put the stat block in there.
And nowhere is it more important to like think of the social status of people than in a city.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Because there'll be some establishments, they don't want that stinky, you just were in the sewer. They don't want you coming in. They'll be like, no, sir, we don't serve your filthy kind.
Exactly.
Like the Star of Selene and Greyhawk.
Yep.
And if I could also interject one thing that I think is vital. When we're thinking about these cities too, depending on your campaign and which way you want to go, think about magic level and how the degree of magic might influence these things and tweak them slightly. Like for myself, 2 examples. The world. I think it was. You remember there were those books published in late 3.5, like the world's biggest dungeon or whatever it was, which I didn't really care for.
Yeah.
But there was the world's biggest city, and it had one detail that I stole, which is there's a gambling establishment in there where there are these birds that are flying around the room, and the birds have been bred to be attracted to magic when it's being used. So if anyone tries manipulating the probability when someone's shooting dice or playing cards or whatnot, the bird will automatically come and start sitting on them. And I incorporated that into a fight scene where I had like a pit fight, and how could you tell nobody was cheating and nobody was casting spells? These birds were flying around the pit and would basically start pecking and crapping on whoever tried casting spells or whoever was smuggled a magic item in, just to kind of even things out. That was one example. The other example would be, I mentioned desire, and this is a weird kind of area, but my players notoriously ran into a lady of the evening when they were trying to escape through some tunnels underneath this thieves' establishment. And there were broken bits of statuary around the room and some hammers. And she asked, so which one of you am I doing? And they're like, what? And the payoff was ultimately that she was catering to a very special clientele. They were a clientele who wanted the person with them to be turned to stone so that they could then be smashed with a hammer. And she was, in fact, a Medusa.
Nice.
And that became notorious. She comes out and she's wearing like this blonde wig and this veil, and she's like, so which of you am I to be partnered with? Which am I to... And they're like, huh? And then it suddenly dawns on them as it proceeds. Oh my God, it's a Medusa.
That's horrible.
Old Mother Grubbs is just as bad.
Yeah.
That's a vampire.
So it's like, And they basically wound up negotiating with her and paying her off so that she helped them get out of the establishment.
See?
But yeah, that would be the thing, is to go ahead and think about how certain quirks of the human personality could be pandered to through the underworld. If there's a kink, a quirk, or a bizarre need, you know that the city will cater to it, because that's what cities do. Cities are basically engines for catering to human need, right? So yeah, it's just something to think about. And again, in a you can go low magic, you can go high magic. I prefer kind of a low kind of background thing with mythic beasts from time to time and little weird quirks. But that would be one thing. I mean, it's a neat way to throw players off their expectations. They certainly didn't expect to run into a Medusa who was, a working girl.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about the magic because, the powers that be probably don't want people running around throwing magic around. So you probably need a license. So do you have a license to practice magic here? And so you have the magic police show up. Do you have a permit for that staff?
You can cast spells in the open in Greyhawk.
And then
there's certain spells that get you in deep poo-poo.
Yeah.
And make you buy permits for every magic item you have. You have to have your permit, which of course lets the powers that be know what you have.
Exactly. Register that
weapon. You can hose them big time. So just, keep that in mind.
So Ralph, and another thing is, in Greyhawk, in order to carry openly a weapon, you need to have a permit, and I have it so that the permit is very expensive, and then they can only get one weapon, because if they register a second weapon, the second weapon costs 10 times more to register that as a permit, so they're not running around with multiple weapons in the open. Just something to. So, go ahead, Anna.
I was going to say, and also make that part of class and favor, meaning if you're a known friend and ally of the high and mighty in the city, you can just walk in with whatever you want. You don't have to pay a penny. All these kind of things is a way to suppress your enemy and single out, to tell who is your friend or not, so to speak. The ruler will use all sorts of tricks to make sure to use kind of public stigma is a way. You have to tie a pink ribbon around your sword or something like that, showing that you're only allowed to carry it to the lord's, if you pay a whole lot of money, of course, to pay the lord's fee and stuff like that. And if you can brandish a weapon without it and stuff, then you're part of the lord's favored and stuff like that. So,
and Anna, that ties into what we were saying earlier about why would characters get involved in the city? If I do a favor for this guy, maybe I can carry my weapon. Maybe I don't have to worry about this.
Exactly. You can.
Yeah. It's like and so it's again that idea that there's these two driving factors of friendship and obligation or duty / debt.
Yeah, and we also have one other reason that I often have my players the characters have to go to big settlements, is that's where the good weaponsmiths, armor smiths, and stuff like that will be, because they will not sit out in a cottage somewhere out in the countryside waiting for customers or having to fend for themselves. They will go to a big city. They will get hired by the high and mighty in whoever runs the country or mayor. Yeah. And they get the protection from the rulers, meaning they will work for the ruler, and then they will do other stuff for other wealthy clientele and stuff like that. So if you want to order a magic sword or a superb armor made from your dragon hide that you manage to get for something, you have to go to find the best armor in the kingdom, and he works, of course, in the capital under the king's guise, so to speak, because that's how he makes sure he can work in peace and he get wealthy doing it and protected and all that. So then basically you have to have the king's permit just to bribe the king or at least the whoever runs the court, the day-to-day business, just to see the armor and present the item in question for production, so to speak. And then you might have to take it in half and give the other half for the king or something. So yeah.
A couple things real quick, this is a great discussion so far. And look, we're almost in an hour, and we're still on Greyhawk. So if you're new, Best Dragon Volume 3 giveaway, special night, celebrate 7,000 followers. Got a lot of people on. Second giveaway, these two books, City Sights and a wonderful Book of Taverns, and 3 because of the hype train, we had a level 3 hype train right at the beginning. Temple of Unmuzzled Evil reprint, my favorite. Those last two ones are courtesy Canadian Ancient Gamer. John. Oh, by the way, it's a slow night. We're number one. We're the number one D&D stream on right now by far. It's so thank you very much for that too. Yes, by far. You can check it out. John, give me one really cool memory you have of Petronius and the Petronius, little rivalry with your gnomish, with not Boyd. What? Oh God, Bill. What's his name, man? I'm getting old. The illusionist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Kroger Blackrock, yeah. And what did you
Kroger
do?
was
What did you used to do to him when he came out of his house?
I never did anything to harm him. I just helped him to get adjusted to civilized life. I believe more than once I borrowed objects from him that he thought were precious. And I remember leaving evidence that someone had been in the room stealing things, and it possibly could have been a gnome. And then he was always doing strange things because he was just incredibly greedy. Even for a gnome, he was terribly greedy.
That's Alan's character.
Actually, he moved into a novel I was writing for a while. And he wears beautifully expensive clothes, but he never washes them.
Yeah,
they're all stained and dirty. And
but did you have dogs?
Yeah, the druid. That's the druid. This is the funniest thing.
He was followed by dogs more than once.
And they'd come up and they'd hump his leg and stuff. Yeah. John's characters. Yes. So yes, this is in the same adventuring party, by the way, everyone. So and
excellent.
Yes, no illusionist Steve.
It's a rivalry. They're not hurting each other.
Yeah, right. Right. So a halfling and a gnome going at it. It was always a funny thing. We had so much fun back in those days with that group. Yeah, that group. So I think Anna, when you played Mariel that first time, John, you just had Abdul that night, right? You played Abdul only. Right, Tim? Did he play?
I think so.
Just Abdul when we did the first fundraiser with that group. I think so. Yeah,
just Abdul.
So that's at least you guys you both played together at one time. So, but those city adventures were so much fun back in the day, and just and you can create some long-lasting memories. And the group is still active in the top adventuring group in Greyhawk, and they ran through expeditions to Ruins of Greyhawk, and I've done some high-level adventuring to this point. And just note that is a fun one. And then Tim gets to hop in once in a blue moon in that too. So I want to hop into the next one. Here's another Greyhawk one you may not know about. All right. I was always intrigued by the Free City of Hardby, or whatever you can call it, Hardby, whether it's controlled by Greyhawk or not. And then this article came out, and I think it's Dungeon 109. This is Dungeon 109. This is a Living Greyhawk by Paul Luby, Hardby, City of the Scorned.
City of the Scorned.
Yeah.
Yep.
John, remember you were so excited about this? You photocopied every single page and had JPEGs of the whole thing, when we ran. And Hardby has been
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. Hardby's a wonderful thing. Combine this.
Oh, okay. Hardby. Yes, I remember.
Yeah. Combine this with. Combine this with this. Earth Journal 10, The City of Hardby by James Muldowney. And if you put these two together, because there's a lot of stuff in this article here that is very off, homebrew, that you need to you need to merge them together, and you can have a great Hardby setting. So those are the two things I would recommend, is combining them both together, and then you get some memorable Hardby campaign adventuring for something that's published source. Now, you've all known about my battles in Hardby with Mark's character, Michael Baton, who everyone hates, right? And the wars going on between him and Judge Alida. And here's some of the carnage. This is, I think, the same adventure that Tim's character, Hugo Stiglitz brought his band onto the beach. And
The
they
red
got,
shirts.
yeah, the red shirts.
The
name of
band, the Red
and they all got
Shirts.
killed right in the beginning of this fight.
Because that's what Jay does to any of your friends.
Yes. So we had a lot of fights going on in Harby, and we still have. It's kind of cooled off, but as you can see, this is a scene here of someone torching the Church of Ziltris and burning it to the ground with all the priests inside alive. All right.
And
so
that's Bill's little special effects, right?
yes, those are Bill's fire effects.
That's just the photograph. You didn't doctor that.
No, that's photo.
No,
yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah. So
That's good.
yeah, and going on in our Harby wars. So Harby's a lot more of a visceral place compared to Greyhawk. The rules are not as cut and dry here, and you can get away with a lot more. And there's a lot more killing right in the open.
It's more like it's run by warlords than a real city.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the way I like it, though. But note that your Harby doesn't have to be this way. Here's another scene of fighting going on. So note, Harby's my second adventuring spot that I use. A lot of really cool adventuring groups. We have multiple groups in, and here's the Harby Merc group. As we all know, the Furies were completely obliterated in one of these adventure series. There was an NPC group that Mark created. It was led by Michael Baton. They all got slaughtered by Judge Alita. So that was a whole plot line that was used. So, and notice the Fighters of the Light, which are everyone hates the Foltest people. Right? Everyone hates them. So what do? I put them in every city because everyone hates the Foltest adventurers. So they have branches. They're like, and someone said that someone said that they had the Blue Mace in almost every city. Well, I have them in every city that I have adventuring too, because why? If someone despises it, why not recreate it?
The light must shine out.
Yes, the light must shine out. So. But that is the second one I wanted to show that is really good. There's 2 published sources you have, so you can do a lot of Harby adventuring. It's very detailed, and it's a great place to throw a group. Absolutely, Eric. So, comments for anyone about the Harby? Anyone utilized it or seen? Go ahead, Tim.
I had a question.
Sure.
Harby is the main port that supports Greyhawk, right?
Well, on the
Greyhawk
ocean
support.
side, yes.
Greyhawk support
Yeah.
itself. The river runs all the way up.
Right, but if you don't want to take what if you have a large draft vessel, you're not going to get up the river.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
I have them as they coexist. They are codependent, so to speak. Harby and
Right.
Greyhawk. Greyhawk caters to the near-div side, and Harby to the ocean side, so to speak.
Right, because it would be
Thanks,
it would be
Fires.
hard to sail up the river. I guess.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I would say
Oh,
that
it's 9. I'm sorry, it's 9, not 10. No, Journal. My
the
apologies.
biggest thing in Harby for is don't interrupt traffic
Yeah.
of goods,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone will be angry. I mean, you're going to make so many wealthy, powerful people angry if anyone interferes with any of the income flowing.
Yep.
So that's a great way to get your
Gotcha,
characters in
Stefan.
trouble, or your players
Hey,
in
Amy.
trouble.
Amy Critton's on. Good to see you, Amy. It's been a while. I know your schedule's been
Hello.
driving you crazy. Good to see you.
Yep.
So
Hey, Amy.
we have we have a couple of adventuring groups in only three different adventuring groups in Harby. But that's more than enough for Harby. The good thing about Harby is, and what we're really excited about, is there's sea-based adventuring out of here. And if you're into that, this is the perfect place to have letters of marque, right? For
Yep.
privateers, slavers hunting, all sorts of piracy. It's perfect out of this this setting. Also, Carlos has done something very kind for us. It's going to be based out of one of the Harby groups, but I'm going to merge it in, and that is, and I've told you multiple times, I'm going to be running Thicker Than Water, Carlos's new adventure, based on Slippery Keta the Slaver, in 2022, and that'll be based out of Harby. So it's a
Nice.
perfect match. So for you, Les, Anna, John, any Tim, any ship-based or other ideas for Harby? Yeah, it looks great, doesn't it? It looks like a great adventure. So or did I overcover Harby there as number
I
two?
No,
think
no.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's interesting, and Harby also have two kind of interesting little quirks to it from going from I guess published sources. One is a genarchy run by sorcerers. So you have that kind of connection in one way, and then there seems to be mercenaries and the Mayaheen connection to Hardby as well. So there seems to be some interesting quirks, and in the Gord books there is this I forgot her name. She's a kind of some sort of knight kind of Deirdre, yes, thank you.
And her brother Oscar.
Yeah, and but he gets killed, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't actually, and he's mentioned in the City of the Scorned article and in other stuff. Yeah.
Oh, the Longlands. The Longlands, Deirdre Longlands.
Longhands, yeah.
Yeah, the Longlands, the Mayheen worshippers. Yeah,
exactly.
Longhands, yeah.
We have plenty of Longlands in our game.
Some interest, but I have it that the interesting thing is that they are codependent, so they don't like each other. And they are rivals, but they also dependent on each other because one needs the other one in order to flourish and and get the economy running, so to speak. So and they are kind of pragmatic that way, that they can't have strong leanings anyway, because trade, meaning you need to go where the money is, and that's what they do. And I guess Hardby is interesting because they will probably be financiers of privateers, so meaning in order to, if there's people attacking shipping in Woolly Bay, the rulers of both Greyhawk but especially Hardby will probably hire people to go out there and deal with them, so to speak, and so they will they are willing to bend the rules in order to. Greed is probably the kind of controlled greed is probably the ruling religion, and Zilchus and other things. So
that's why Michael Baton was Zilchus. It was perfect.
Yeah, the interesting thing there is that Luby also co-wrote the Mysterious Places piece on Safeton.
Yeah.
And if you look, you'll notice that Safeton obviously has at least in the Living Greyhawk material, by the Living Greyhawk period, has a contingent of Hardby Marines stationed in it as part of the occupation.
Yeah.
And also, one of the interesting things is that their aristocracy, according to this article, were also spellcasters.
Yeah.
Who kind of slid into decline. But you'll notice again that that Hardby is a gynarchy, whereas Safeton they didn't allow any one family to set up absolute power, so it kind of winds up being this kind of fluctuating thing. And occasionally you get like the bandit chieftain who takes over and declares himself lord of the city, and then kidnaps Oscar and Deirdre's, I think, aunt. It might have been grandmother, something like that. It was a family member, and then basically they just march into the city, take off the guy's head in retaliation for him having killed their family member, and walk right out with it, which I think is a great little story. That Gygax cooked up threw it in the backstory. It's awesome. To me, it's like those two cities I see as very, very distinctly tied together historically too. Again, Sewell heritage too, with both of them.
Yeah, and yeah, I have it interesting. For me, Hardby is the oldest of the two. Not Greyhawk is much younger.
Well, it's found by Zagic, wasn't it?
But I have that Hardby is in my campaign the more natural location for a city to begin with, because it's to have a port there
right
at the inner end of the Woolly Bay. Is
I was thinking more of Safeton there, though. But
both of them have been around, so to speak, the bay.
Yeah.
And because I have it that the Salintan River
Greyhawk
all the way out to Nerdiv is not natural, so the last bit is dug. And that meant that originally Salintan was just a small little river that went in. There was a couple of them, Salintan and the Grey Run, that kind of combined where Greyhawk City is today, that came out of the Cairn Hills and then flowed south. So there was no obvious connection to the Nerdiv. And then Salintan was like a small town or something like that. And there was the Baron of Salintan up there. And so that was a periphery of the Wild Coast, and then Hardby and Safeton and Norwell that are older. But then the Great Kingdom comes along and see the potential, and they open up dig the canal, those 10, 15 miles to Nerdiv, and that changed the whole ball game. All of a sudden, Greyhawk, they put money in there, and because instead of trying to conquer and just change the old place, they build a new place. And
Throwing in a,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I was going to say,
No, please.
You're getting me to think of something I definitely wanted to mention, which is we were talking about building up on a neighborhood level, right?
Yeah.
I love Harvey.
And I'm thinking here of personal experience as well, like post-Katrina and scarcity and such. But here's what I would say. When you get to know a neighborhood and you live in a neighborhood, and then something disrupts the flow of supplies to a neighborhood, you start realizing how much of your economy is based on things outside of your neighborhood or city, and how much your city relies on the flow of goods into it. Again, it's what you were driving at, I think, earlier in the conversation, Anna. Yeah. That connection between the city and the larger environment.
How are they fed?
Exactly. How are they fed? What are they fed? And what happens if there's something that disrupts the flow of this one item?
Yeah.
How does that affect?
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you have to realize when you world build, that cities have an enormous amount of resources, both in manpower, money, and talent and know-how, so to speak, compared to the countryside around it. You need to go far and wide in order for the countryside around it to have equal amount of people, brain power, money, and knowledge resources that a city have. And also in a fantasy world, that's where you have a lot of the temples, the high priests, the high wizards, and stuff like that will hang out in the city. And that means that the city could have dominance over the countryside far and wide. And especially if the countryside starts getting angry and don't want to send grain or cattle or sheep or goat milk or whatever it is that the city dwellers want, and start saying, no, we don't going to do it anymore, we're going to do something, then the city dwellers will get angry, and they will have a lot of clout and power and stuff and troops and whatnot, what to send out and mess with the countryside.
Or what if you rely on, like, again, since we mentioned spellcasting, what if for certain material components you're reliant on stuff being sent in from the surrounding countryside, and some sort of tension arises between, say, the elves or some woodsmen or etc. and the city population, and that starts drying up. Like they're like, no, we're not going to ship you this stuff anymore. Thank you very much.
So they had to.
So there you go. There's another opportunity for adventurers.
Yep. And then some people will probably. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, some people out there in countryside, instead of protesting and risk it, they will probably flee, so that the city might be sitting with all their might and power and all that, and the countryside will be empty, so to speak. So that way they have to basically go out and start digging in the ground themselves in order to do it. So that is something, and similar things happen in old medieval cities, and there are several examples I know from Europe that the city dwellers treat the people in the surrounding land so badly that they basically fled, and they had to start dealing with problems themselves on things because they are skilled, but often not that skilled in providing for a lot of the food stuff and raising goats and well,
it's a specific set of skills, right? And we always take advantage of how reliant we are on other people's skill sets, right? Until those skill sets or resources are taken from us, and then it's like, oops.
And it's something sometimes that that's not even thought about too, and it really should be. Tim, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, like, have the party that they fought the bad guys, they sunk their ship, and then they find out that ship was the 3-month supply of fish sauce that was coming to the city, and that's the number one thing they add to all their food, and you ruined all their food for the big festival coming up, and now you need to fix it. So
Yep.
So, and there are so many routes in Harby you can take. John, do you got any Harby memories at all? Man, I know this may be tough, but
I remember a lot of activity on the waterfront and various and assorted drinking establishments. A couple of things that were like a little more respectable, but were not quite on the waterfront.
Yeah, the docks of Harby.
I remember Harby had a lot of flexibility or creativity in what could happen there.
There's a NPC.
Countryside.
Very true. Very true.
There's a recurring NPC in the present stage of my campaign, who is a former Hardby dock cop, basically. And I actually modeled him on Sean Connery in The Untouchables.
Oh, okay,
So,
that's a good one. Yeah.
Kind of a medieval version. You know, he looks like William of Baskerville, but he's more like, yeah, it's like crossing the streams there.
Yeah.
Some other ideas, and Bill came up with this. The Greyhawk Thieves Guild does not have control over the Hardby Thieves Guild. So he actually has one of his PCs is actually an agent of the Greyhawk Thieves Guild infiltrating the Hardby Thieves Guild. Sorry to give that away, Bill, but this is a big one. Also note that the Assassins Guilds don't get along in either town, and they're all at each other's throats. So that's another thing that you can...
That's not a dangerous job at all.
So note that that's going on. Some ideas that my players have thrown in there that are really good. Also, all the tension with Alita, the Throne of Wood. Don't be afraid. There's 6 named houses. Let me see if I can get them. Longland, Gurnish-Gear, Jonish, Maynham. I'm missing 1 or 2. Havalos, and I'm missing 1. There's 6 of them, and don't be afraid to make allow your player characters, especially if they're female characters, to come from them, and that adds another level of intrigue into Hardby. And once again, the City of the Scorn adventure from Dungeon 109 and Earth Journal 9 gives you plenty of information to do Hardby adventuring. So, very, very cool. All right, I'm going to keep things moving because we want to get to a lot of the third player party ones, you know, with time here. And thanks, Hager. Thank you so very much. Here we go. Here's a shitty map of the Free City of Altamira, right? Hopefully this will change in 2022.
Jay, who made that map?
Yeah, me. Just so we know where locations were. Without a map, I still have a ton of locations. I have the Mercenary Guild, which is really large here because we do a ton of adventuring out of here. And look, the fighters are later in here, but most of these are player character groups. I think only 2 of these are, and we notice we have Ed Greenwood's group, 2 drink minimum, and the Slav squad on this list too. So these are all player character groups with the exception of 2. And now that I figured out looking from Hardby and Greyhawk, I got my Altamira down. But I need to get it published, and it's being worked on, everyone. So note that, okay? It's being worked on, and I'm doing my best there. So you get these great pictures like this. You know, so you get your Free City of Hardby, of Altamira on the map, and then you can do wonderful things like have the Grand Melee and have the Joust and all sorts of other things. But we got a lot of, this is a base of operations for that entire Lord Mill Mountains adventuring area that we do in the county of Ulick. The Free City, you know, we have the Free City there, we have the Principality, you have the Sus Forest, it's all right there. So note that more to come in 2022 with Altamira, my own creation of a city. Plus, you know, don't you all think Greyhawk's better off now that the Kumquat has been introduced? So
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
if I go to my grave, that's one contribution I'll have to
Kumquat?
to the world of Greyhawk. And Lord Sepp trying to get into D&D's the first time. Well, good. So hang out. We are and ask questions. Just note that I've been doing this for 42 years, and the combined level of John, what year did you start, John? 76? Early, right?
Right after it was published.
But you had the original white books, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was 74 through 76 back then when they were, and Tim's as long as me, and Anna's almost as long as me as well, and I'm assuming Les is as well. So
yeah, about 79, 80, something like that.
Same here.
When did the Caverns of Quasqueton come out?
Wow! Oh my gosh!
When did they come out?
77.
Yeah. So
yeah,
that was the first in the box set, the very first box set.
Yeah. So you're looking at 200 years of experience on this discussion tonight. Holy schmolies!
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Here's my question to the group: is Safeton developed enough for its own campaign setting?
there's a lot more to do in Safeton, I think, that you can do.
No,
with it.
but is there enough written down published source to get a full Safeton city out of? That's my question. Or is it tidbits?
It's tidbits. That's what I see it, because I haven't seen a proper, really good map and stuff like that. It's you have little tidbits. Yeah, so I would call it snippets that no one's really organized really well.
Yeah, I'm kind of comfortable with that because I took the material in the Living Greyhawk stuff and some implications throughout Slavers and elsewhere, and I just built up Safeton. I mentioned the ball before previously. The ball that I had in Safeton with the people who wore the corpse makeup, basically.
Okay.
If you remember the children of the people who Turin had executed, going to those balls dressed as execution victims themselves, and I built up a complete undercity for Safeton, and the different dock gangs, and yeah, I basically built up a heck of a lot of Safeton, an entire 6 month to 1 year stretch in real time of the campaign took place in Safeton. So I've built up a lot of that. So I'm pretty comfortable with it being underdeveloped, if that makes sense.
Okay. Because
the opportunity to run amok with it.
There's not that much stuff. There's not enough, David, because, just like Narwhal, I built up. But here's why I say this, and I'm trying to place this. I'm trying to place this publication, and I thought Safeton would be the best spot for this great publication, The Town of Callus by Castles and Crusade, by Troller Games. This is really good. Now, I was thinking that Safeton would be the best place, but maybe there's another place that someone can recommend. And what I really love about this, now the city map is I told Chuck, I said, Chuck, you got to do better next time. You got to get and here's the city map.
Yeah, that's kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for the follow, Lord Sepp.
It's better than Istus, what is it, the Fate of Istus or whatever.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I put that in there just because of the city maps and the scroll.
Yeah, it looks like a pre-planned city.
Yeah.
Blue, David, blue is perfect.
They need Alyssa Faden map on this one. Yeah.
Blue is really good for this, but the problem is blue's a really evil city, and I don't see myself utilizing this in blue at all. I was thinking maybe I'll do it in Safeton, we'll see. But it's got some really wonderful. It's kind of got some detail. Oh my God, my brain just shut off. The temples are all generic. You can really pull out a lot of good things out of here. Also, I love the sewers are really detailed, which is unlike Greyhawk. This is much better than the Greyhawk sewers, which are amorphous, but that's okay. So I just wanted to bring up that this is a third-party one that you can utilize. But would it be for Safeton? Blue. I think you're right. That blue makes much more sense on that side of the map. Portoli, yeah. There's a lot of possible places to utilize it, but it's a good publication for Blue Bay, and yes, I'm working on it. Oh well, Patrick has got his own town there. South. By the way, that'll be on the map shortly, right, Anna? Patrick's Blue Bay.
Oh, it's on the 2022.
There you go. It's on the 2022,
on
Patrick.
Edition.
You made it.
Yep.
So very, very cool. Why don't we at this point discuss and just roundtable? First off, we should do this. Tim, let's go city state, and then we'll do with third parties after that, because this is like one of my favorite of all time adventuring, the city state of Invincible Overlord, and this is a city. This is a great city publication. So let's hit that up real quick, or however long it takes, and then go from there. The city state. Yes, of the Invincible Overlord.
There it is in all its glory.
So, how long have we been playing this? Not as long as our Greyhawk. It's like 35 years? Yeah, it's only 35 years old.
That's it.
We've been playing.
Kind of new.
Yeah.
Well, so it's very minimalistic. That Judges Guild style where it's not tons and tons to read, but it covers a lot of different topics from law and punishment, how things work, social class, how that works, it even has like special skills like witty repartee and things like that, where you can, you know, gain cool points by cleverly insulting people. You know, it's like the civilized version of taunt, I guess. Again, every single establishment at that place is not super detailed, but it has an owner. It has a couple other facts about it and some details and costs or interesting things about whatever they have there. And then it'll have like a little hook for another adventure or a rumor or something that they, you know, they can tell the players if their players are interested. And of course, now it's City State's Lawful Evil. So it's their number one money maker is a slave trade. So it's bad.
So note that in Tim's campaign, I've only had 2 characters. Well, actually I had 3. One died off real early. I have a lawful neutral cavalier, female, 13th level, Dervilia, and then I have Kixano, who's the poor man's Gazumba, fighter cleric mage, half elf. Yeah, in there, and he's never going back to inside the city walls ever again after the last adventure.
But what if your girlfriend wants to go back in?
She'll dump. You know, I'm not going back in that city. That's how you know it was good city adventuring, where my character's scared to death to ever step foot back into the city. So
we know why you DM only. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, where's this color map? This is 3rd edition map, isn't it? Is this 3rd edition map? Tim, the one I have up showing?
I don't know. I know I bought it on RPG.
Thanks, Michael.
Drive through RPG, and I think it matches up. It's the same as the original one. It's just been colorized and maybe looking pretty and digitized. Yeah.
So tell us a story or two of the torture you put us through. Wherever you want.
Early on, half the party has a thief class.
Oh, cool.
You know, multi-classed. There's only one straight thief, and so they got kind of involved with sneaking around and dealing with things inside the city state. And I remember I had a couple adventures with, I don't even remember the super details of them, but they were a lot of hints and rumors, and you had to do a lot of sneaking around, and eventually you bumped into your arch enemy, or he bumped into you, I think, and then it hit the fan at that point. So I had this really big, bad guy who they had forgotten about. He was like a villain they defeated in their very first adventure 200 years before.
Yes, Lord Gru.
No, it was Cartha Radu.
Oh, Cartha Radu. Oh, from the what do you call it? From the B4.
Veiled Society.
From the Veiled Society.
Veiled Society. And so, because I ran that, and then he was the big bad guy. And then they ended up after defeating him running into a thwart of the other thieves guilds of all the counties around the city state, because they shook things up.
Map of that.
Yeah, they shook things up, and then I've been working on that's like that's actually sheepskin, watercolor, and India ink. I've written on that with.
This is the city state here. Okay, and this is the nobles' lands. This is our holdings here of the nobles' lands with some other things.
And your lands expanded because it was a evil cavalier who tried to take you guys out, and so you ended up having a private war.
Yep. But what was really cool was Tim developed the outer areas outside the city state, and we did a lot of adventuring there before we even went into the city, which was really neat. And it's a great change up for me once in a blue moon to play this instead of DMing, to actually play high level characters and have fun with them. So whenever we get to play it, I really look forward to it. With the
next time you're going to be tasked with something special.
Oh my gosh. So, Les, any use of Judges Guild stuff beyond this?
Oh man, again, it's one of those things where I try to homebrew most of my own stuff,
right?
But I've always found, like, I think the 2 city-state publications, Invincible Overlord and World Emperor, were like the 2 first Judges Guild things I found at the local hobby shop when I was a teen.
Right.
Kids, so I just snatched those up, and there are just so many cool ideas. If memory serves, Tim can correct me on this. I think it's Invincible or I think it's World Emperor, has the I can't remember which one it is, but there's kind of a loan shark who has a pit fiend as basically his bagman. And I've always loved that idea. Just you know, no one knows exactly what happens except that it just mentions that, you know, if you don't pay him up, you disappear.
There is a loan shark in the city state.
Yeah, and I just, that idea just appealed to me so much, man. That I've lifted it and used variations on it. I've lifted it and used variations on it a few times. Hey, Dr. Faust.
Dr. Faust, great to see you.
Yeah,
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you so very much for the kind raid in. Please make sure you all hang out and stay, and exclamation drawing to get in. We have 3 giveaways tonight. One of them is a real Best of Dragon Volume 3 to celebrate our 7,000th follower. So I'm trying to find Dr. Faust. I know I got so many shout out. Where is he? I know you're here. So there he is. Please, everyone here, go and follow the Dr. Faust. I knew I had it. So great to see you all tonight. So here, I know you knew a lot about this, and Michael von Moltke wanted to talk about this, and this connects into and that is Baldur's Gate, which I'm assuming was always Baldur's Gate, but they made it. Yeah. Do you have this one too, Tim? Baldur's Gate?
No,
you don't have this one. Yeah, I got this.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. It's a Necromancer Games one again. This is during that 3rd edition era. Can you give us a little synopsis of this one?
Yeah. Baldur's Gate is, and I mean this in the best possible way, it is a fantasy city with everything that you would expect a fantasy city to have. It owes an obvious debt. Now, it isn't to say it doesn't rip them off. It pays homage to them. There are elements of Baldur's Gate. Cool. There are little nods to Waterdeep. Basically, if you liked if you liked Baldur's Gate, the video game, or if you liked some of the early Forgotten Realms stuff, you'll probably get a real kick out of it. There is tons of material. I mean, it's hard to summarize because these Frog God books are so thick. But there's so much material in there. Again, going back to what I was saying about the city-state, there's so much material and inspirational riffs in there that you can just go through there, and you could take the city itself and substitute it for a relatively, you know, something analogous to one of the cities I mentioned. Or you can just take parts of the city, districts of the city, and plop them into your campaign. Like, it's very modular and granular that way. There's lots of cool stuff in it. I would highly recommend. The book itself particularly the later iterations, tie it into this whole Lost Lands setting that they've developed. Right. But you don't really have to have the Lost Lands or know anything about it. Again, it's open enough. I don't want to say generic because that term carries a stigma, right? Right. But when I say so, I'll say that it's flexible enough to fit into most campaign settings, or to have elements of it lifted and put in most campaign settings. Awesome. Really cool.
Ashur just said he uses it for Knurl, which is great. Yeah. Oh, cool. Very cool. That's good to know that someone utilizes that book, the Baldur's Gate book. So, my next question is, John, do you remember you used to use a lot of Middle Earth role-playing stuff. Did you ever utilize? Yeah, I remember that.
That stuff is great.
Yeah, the old MERP stuff. Do you remember ever, were there any cities developed in that? I know but the minus Tirith and minus Ithil were, but were there? I
had Bree.
Yeah. Oh, they had Bree. That's right. Yeah.
Bree.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever did much with Middle Earth role playing.
Yeah, we just had them.
You just had them. Yeah, I forgot about Bree.
You did as a Barrow-wight thing once.
Yeah, I remember the Barrow-wight adventure. I remember that specifically. But wow, the Bree one would be cool.
Here's what I'd recommend too. If you can get your hands on it, Thieves of Tharbad.
Okay.
Thieves of Tharbad is a real anomaly in the MERPS line. It's as if somebody tried taking a sword and sorcery city with thieves and skullduggery and backstabbing and all the good stuff that we love about Lankmar and Shadowzar and all these and the city-states of the World Emperor. It's as if someone took that kind of city and tried putting it in Middle Earth.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, Thieves of Tharbad. That's the name of the publication.
I've heard of it, but I don't have it. So really,
definitely worth hunting down if you can find a copy.
A cool recommendation. So Anna,
Is that one of those cities east of Mordor?
Yeah.
well, it could be, or southeast,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. Where the what was the city where the what was the name of the
Corsairs
ships?
of
The
Umbar?
Corsairs of Umbar. Umbar.
Yep.
I know Umbar.
Yeah,
they wrote that
there's
up
a
too.
publication for that too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Baracus, yeah. Baracus is another one from them as well. Baracus, City and Pearl. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I don't. I think I have that, but it's downstairs. So
And the Blight, of course, is in the.
yes, and haven't gotten to those yet. Yeah. So we got these left still. So our friend Anna, Alyssa Faden. Here's another one I want to show, and that's Cat's Cradle. And the reason I want to show this is because you know it's a really cool neutral. Yeah, this is recent. This is Frog God. I think I got this. I got the generic version there, but let me show you the map is. This is an Alyssa Faden done up map. It's really very nicely done. So
Looks like my map.
yeah. Well, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, there. Now, what's cool about this? What's cool about this publication? And I
Versus
think
more details.
I think I have it here. I have it here in PDF is that these it highlights those areas, and Zach showed us how they kind of do it. When you come down here, you notice they they highlight them, and then they number them. So when they go over the locations of cities or spots in here, you can go right to that reference. And this thing is, in full color. There's a lot of color in this book. We gave away a bunch of these on the Fantasy Mapping Show last week, and it's a nice little city publication. I'm not sure where I'd place this, but this is how many people is this? This one's 4,000 citizens, whereas Callus is, I think, 6,000 or 8,000. Callus is double the size of Cat's Cradle. So if you want a small community that's a city but not a massive city, then I would recommend messing with the Cat's Cradle one. And there's the Thieves Guild's not written up. It's a lot of locations. But it's really not as much going into like what is going on as far as the differences in the rivalries and stuff. It's more of a setting up the locations and you fleshing out the rivalries and the issues going on in the city. But it's still a very nice publication. So has anyone here touched on this one? No. Give it a shot. It's not that expensive. So it's Frog God as well. And then there's this. All right, Les.
Yes.
Discuss Richard Pett's Crooked City. Yeah.
Richard Pett is someone who I deeply enjoy, whose work I deeply enjoy. Pett did a number of adventures for Dragon Magazine or Dungeon Magazine. He did a bunch of stuff for Paizo and some early Pathfinder stuff. I believe he wrote the book on goblins for Pathfinder. Pathfinder. But what Greyhawkers may best know him for would be his adventures set in the Styes. Those were published in a couple of issues of Dungeon Magazine. And what they did in Dungeon Magazine was they filed off the they took his the Styes was adventures originally took place in his own campaign setting or milieu, and he the editors of Dungeon Magazine basically put it in Greyhawk. They put it in, I believe, Primp in Alyssa.
Oh, really?
I believe so. I believe that's where the original publications suggested putting them. But what wound up happening is his campaign obviously went on beyond those few adventures, and what the Blight is it's the rest of the Styes adventures. It's the rest of that setting.
Okay.
So it's, as you can probably tell if you've read the originals or the updated versions for 5e and Ghosts of Saltmarsh, these are dark urban fantasy.
Okay.
They're dark urban fantasy. They can be quite intense and scary. The setting of the Blight itself, the capital, as it's called, has a number of decadent aristocratic families who may or may not dabble in questionable pursuits of the magical arts, and are all connected through various degrees of intermarriage and everything else. And all of whom, of course, have their own conspiracies going on and likes and dislikes of each other. Meanwhile, down on the docks, you have all kinds of strange cults and things being shipped into the city. The fabric of the city's reality at times grows particularly thin because of all the spell casting. It's kind of like Roxas that way. The idea being that so much stuff has happened here that the fabric of reality wears a little bit thin, and sometimes things from outside cross over into the city itself. And there are also back alley deals where and gambling where you can trade away your soul, or perhaps you'll trade off one of your dreams and it might come to life and be sold off separately from you. It's an intensely cool and eerie kind of setting. I can't recommend it enough. The book is like 1,000 pages, believe it or not.
Yeah, it's insane.
And it's insane. It's insanely detailed and full of really cool, creepy stuff. Highly recommend. If you get a chance to read it or purchase it, go ahead and do so, because if you need kind of creepy elements for your campaign, just a little bit of stuff to either full out disturb your players or make their skin crawl, that would be the setting for you. And there are insects. There are insects, and sometimes there are lots of insects. And the insects aren't very friendly. So yeah.
Has anyone placed it in Greyhawk?
No, but I was thinking that would be an interesting. Again, I'm kind of fascinated by taking the styes in Perimp. If you could set something like that in that general area, where maybe the taint of of Roxas has trickled down to other places.
It's very cool.
Trickled down river.
Yeah, exactly. Because again, I love the idea. There's a sense throughout it that it's touched on in one of the in I think the 3rd edition Cityscape book, had a section on magical pollution, like the idea that the byproducts of all these spells, what happens when the material component turns to dust or whatever, you got to put it somewhere, and it can contaminate areas. And I kind of like that idea, and that's kind of touched on in this book. Nice. The idea that all this magic is kind of just the waste of it. It's almost like toxic waste or chemical waste. It's just done things. The city ain't right.
Warhammer-ish.
Yeah, it is. In many ways, it kind of is. And it's I highly recommend it. Also, speaking of tables, some of it's for Pathfinder, but it's easily adaptable. Pet has a couple of books out from Kobold Press called Your Whispering Homunculus, which is based on a column he ran on the Kobold site, which has random tables and advice for DMs and suggest little hooks to throw out to players. And I'd highly recommend that too. So anyway, there you go. Those.
I got one more. This one, you've seen it scrolling, and this is from Green Ronin. And this is was supposed to go in the Lordship of the Isles in Greyhawk.
Yep.
All right, and that is Freeport. Now, I downloaded the PDF. I had never gotten it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. Look at the map for the city. Wow.
That looks like a city.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this book is a crazy amount as well as far as size. Yeah, you got a lot
that
going
would be
on.
one stinky port.
Yeah, absolutely. They've done their work here. Has anyone out there utilized this? I have not, of course, in my game, or where you would place it, obviously, somewhere in the Lordship. Anna, any ideas on this one?
Yeah, we've had. Hang on a second. It should be in the on the city of Genode or Genodi, however you pronounce it.
Okay.
There is a city called Mahan that I forgot where the source of Mahan is, but that I think is a good candidate to replace Mahan and use this one for the city of Mahan. It's in the bay. It's subtropical, and that was one of the suggestions they came up when we talked to Chris Pramus on the show. So yeah.
All right. Mahan.
Yeah.
So
of the city of Ganode in the Lordship of the Isles.
you can get this in Pathfinder or 5e versions. I got the Pathfinder one, of course. You know, and you know what I love on it. It looks like there's Murlocs right here, and you know me with Murlocs. So I just love the cover. It looks like a Murloc.
You have an
fighting.
unhealthy attraction to them.
I do. I absolutely do. I love.
Oh,
it.
and I had suggested earlier today,
Plus it's
over on
Wayne
Great
Reynolds.
Chat, the possibility of taking. Speaking of Wayne Reynolds, Frog God did the Razor Coast material,
Yeah, I have some of that
the
too.
thick book,
Yep.
and I was saying that it would be ideal. You could ideally mash some of that material up with Freeport. I think it would makes a good fit. They're both nautical campaigns, or campaigns that touch on the nautical at least.
I have some of it here somewhere.
And I mentioned Wayne Reynolds because Wayne Reynolds did the cover for the
Here we go.
Razor Coast one as well, I believe.
Here we go. So I got Freebooter's Guide to the Razor Coast. I got Heart of the Razor, and then the Adventure that goes with that Sinful Whispers. That's a big shark. Yeah, so there you go. Razor Coast would be another nice connection in to that. Considering Frog God is, you know, sponsors our fantasy mapping show, you know, I want to give both them and Troll Lord some nice shout outs. So, but you know, it's super scary looking shark, and maybe I'll run it just to scare the crap out of my players one time.
Yeah, beware of were sharks, man.
Were sharks, absolutely.
The problem with the problem with any adventure on an ocean is that the ocean is also an enemy.
Yep,
So true.
absolutely.
So true. I know we've gone over a lot of stuff, but we want to, you know, hey, by the way, this is our last Gabbin of the year, right? And we'll talk about what's going to happen in 2022's Gabbin, the first one next Sunday. So,
Boom.
yeah. In closing on cities, say something in a synopsis, please, or some other ideas that would help out, or a memory you want to share. You know, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that you should adopt the city for your campaign and then develop ideas of backstories, make it your home, so to speak, that you can come back to, you can develop it over time, you can get it deep rooted into your campaign, so to speak. And for 10 years, that city was Rel Devon for me, and I definitely need to put more down, organized it, and because I have tons of sketches, maps, and little snippets and stat blocks and God knows what from. So I need to organize that, and that's one of my projects for next year, and trying to organize some of that and bring it out to the community. And ideas and stuff on it, and I think that one of the often overlooked is the general character of the city, meaning what it come from. Is it a long established capital that has been around for hundreds, maybe even thousands of years? Or is it a newcomer? It might be a big city, might be a newcomer. It's the upstart, so to speak, that is just coming and it's a bit rough around the edges and it's a frontier town. Or is it the long established center of knowledge and stuff long behind enemy lines, like Relmord, for instance? It's been around for well over 1,000 years. It's never been ransacked, not been on the frontiers for forever. Right. Compare that to some city that might be like Safeton, for instance, that is literally on the frontier, mid-age and never been that established and wealthy, and also is it primarily a trade city? Is it a seat of religious or political power or knowledge or something? What is the general character of a city? Or is it a little bit of everything? But I think you should give your city a backstory that tells the character, and also the purpose should tell the character of the city. Meaning, are people just flamboyant? If you have money, you're something. If you don't have money, you're nothing, so to speak. Or is it a frontier city where everybody needs to carry, and skullduggery is common, and Ullakand in all, for instance. If you can't fight, they might test your fighting ability at the gate. And if you're good enough, then you might come in as a normal. If you're bad enough, they will put you in chains and sell you off as a slave or whatever. And you can have all sorts of. I know it's a touchy subject, so we should. It's bad. So, But
Lots
what I
of
mean is
touchy
that you
subjects.
should give characters evil or good tendencies, and that should reflect the city and its inhabitants and what happens to the characters, and also warn your characters about it. Meaning, a city has a reputation and knowledge. It's not something that will come and jump at you from behind the bush, so to speak. It's something that the players should be well aware of, and the characters and players should know about it. Everybody could tell you how life is in that city. Not all of it necessarily true, but it should have a character, so to speak. A city is a character in itself.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. Hey, so John, I appreciate you hopping in here, hanging out with us. This is really awesome.
And thank
Thanks
you,
for having me.
T-Pirates. Yep.
So John, any suggestions on what something you do city-wise and
Yeah, I have. Of course, I have suggestions. I'm a former academic. I'm full of suggestions. I haven't actually done this, but I have wandered around in libraries enough to find all kinds of historical maps of places all over the world. Pick a country and look around and you'll find maps, everything from, to take Britain, from the Anglo-Saxons all the way up through through Shakespeare, complete with maps of cities. I mean, there's a couple of fairly extensive maps of London. You don't have to call it London, but you can use the street layout and the shops and the who's what and where.
That's a good idea.
And that, I think, gives you a good start. Doesn't have the feeling of being made up by somebody.
Because it's
Just a
realistically
suggestion.
laid out. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Very, very cool. Well, I really appreciate, John, you hopping in on here, and I'm glad to see things are going well with you. And, hang out for a little bit more where we do some shout outs here. And
Yeah.
so, yeah. Tim, suggestions?
Suggestion is, don't be intimidated by these giant books and all the details, because all you need to know is how your quarters are laid out, and then what kind of neighborhoods, couple neighborhoods in the quarters, couple key locales, and then kind of know big guilds and the big politics and how the crime works and how they handle law and order, just in a general concept. And then know a couple prime people, and then you can do any city. And the players just don't make them, they're not from that city, so they don't know. You don't need to know the answers either. They don't know. And so if you went to any person down in any city in America and you said, hey, can you tell me about whatever guild or union, chances are they're not going to know. They're not going to be able to lay out every street for you, especially now in the day of smartphones, but they're not going to know everything. So the players don't need to know, and so you don't need to know everything. And then you can kind of grow it as their interests evolve. Have a list like Jay does. If you're not great at improv, have a list of possibilities. So if something happens, you got a good little couple names to draw off of. If you need a person, it's important that they want to go talk to. So don't be intimidated by the big giant things that force you to get a degree in Greyhawk anthropology. You can go ahead and skim it and get the good meaty details that fit your aesthetic.
Great suggestion. Absolutely. Les, what do you got?
3 things building on the points that have already been made very eloquently by my co-panelists here. First, always remember that a city is made of humans, and it's a machine that kind of creates a feedback loop with human need and desire. So when you create the neighborhood, have a few NPCs handy. Think about what kind of people would live in the neighborhood that you're having your characters go into, what they would want, what they would be doing, and what they would be willing to do to achieve their goals. that sets up a nice balance to what your characters want from the city or the neighborhood and what they're willing to do to accomplish their goals. Another thing I think that's important is to think of, and also in that context, right quick, also think about the nature. I think it's key to think about the nature of the city. Like, is the city so morally bankrupt that there are very few clerics who are capable of casting healing spells? And so do you have people with like basically permanent injuries in these streets? You know, people who bear the permanent marks of pit fighting, and they're willing to go in yet again and take more damage just to make a little extra coin. Those kinds of scenarios. The second thing would be with building on something Anna touched on. Think about the idea not only of skullduggery and whatnot, but of communities that build themselves around the necessity of survival. They maybe are distrustful of outsiders, but if you've been there for a while and you've established a reputation, you know, they will give you anything. They will give you the shirt off their back, as the saying goes, because you are part of the community. You have fought and bled and broken bread with them. Because you get that too. You don't only get skullduggery in Borderlands, you get very tightly knit societies where people are, it's almost like an extended family. And sometimes that has its downsides. Maybe you don't have the capacity for keeping secrets in that kind of setting that you would in others. And then I guess finally, think about architecture and think about the types of buildings and how they're arranged and how do your sleeping accommodations consist of a bunch of you in a room together, or is there enough space within the city and within its structures to provide individual space? How much does privacy cost if you want privacy?
That's a good point. Privacy, yes. That's a great point.
And you know, how, in what ways privacy is a resource and a commodity, right? That's how I always view it. If you know, and I know if you've lived abroad, you'll know that there are certain places where privacy isn't really that big a thing for some people. So it's a thing to consider. And how does that inform the psychology of the people who live in the city? In other words, if you start wanting privacy, will they start arching an eyebrow at it? If you start snooping into people's business, does that raise an eyebrow? What's considered snooping into somebody's business, right? What questions, how far can you push a line of questioning before people start looking at you and asking about, hey, who's that guy who's asking about Bill or whoever?
No,
so
that, Les, that is a great point. And I'm going to, something I missed with Greyhawk. Go ahead, John.
Can I add one thing?
Please, yes.
If you want to get a real feel for primitive not prehistoric, but historic periods, there's a series on called Worst Jobs in the Middle Ages.
Oh yeah, that's great.
That poor guy, he has to go through a lot.
Help you understand what it's like to live in a really medieval village.
I haven't heard of that. I want to watch that.
It's awesome. It's so cool. It's like Dirty Jobs medieval style, and all the poor horrible things he had to do. Yeah. It's fantastic. Yeah. And I have one more thing that I think I want to add when you design your own cities. Also think about the geography the city is placed in, meaning a lot of the fantasy cities just end up on a flat plain, and maybe there's a river or not, so to speak. But think of the city, meaning is it out on a flat plain? Is it on a hilltop? Is it by a coastline? Is it near a major river? Is it in a jungle? Is it high up in the mountains where it's cold? And what kind of building materials is available? Meaning if it's a jungle somewhere, and it's tropical, meaning houses will not be huge stone edifices and stuff. They might be more primitive bamboo structures, but lots of them, so to speak. And so there might be and if it's a city in a big forest, then most of this houses will probably be made out of wood and so on. So the building material should be readily available in the vicinity. Otherwise, the houses wouldn't be there. You can also have cities that are partially underground or completely underground, like under dark cities and stuff like that. You can have a city that is vertical in a mountain wall. If you have like a sheer, think of Yosemite or something like that, when you have a granite wall that is like a mile high, so to speak, then you can basically build a city that is dug into the mountain, literally, meaning you can have a fantasy where you have more spell power and stuff that you can construct. You can think of all sorts of interesting possibilities. You can hollow out a hill and have the city that way, and think of a hobbit hole, but make it bigger. Lots of hobbit holes in one area and stuff, meaning there's endless of interesting possibilities to spice things up.
I was going to say, on a related note too, think about how in the situation, the environment is conducive or unconducive to trade.
Yep.
And how trade in turn shapes population, as you have people, you know, from other lands coming and settling, and they bring their customs and their architecture and their food. And how well do they assimilate? How well do they not assimilate? How do neighborhoods reflect people's origins? And then how do as populations assimilate, you wind up with these layers of architecture where, you know, you start off with a building that's done in one style, and then years later they add something, balcony in another style, and you wind up with these glorious hodgepodges.
And
from our perspective, it's a whole, but if you start paying attention to the details, you realize that it's actually a conglomeration or amalgamation of different styles.
Exactly, and the buildings need to tell the history of the city, because buildings are usually, especially in a more primitive world where you can't construct them instantly, they will reflect what happened 50 years ago, 100 years ago, maybe even 500 years ago. Go to Rome or London or something, and you have the last 1,000 years in reflected in the city architecture. You can have that in a fantasy city too. So, meaning, is the city 200 years old or is it 2,000 years old? That should tell you a lot about it. But not all cities are trade cities. Some of them are refuge. They are simply a place where people have to gang up because the surrounding lands might be so damn hostile. That's the only place you can live. And you have huge city walls, and there's nasty stuff out there. So that's where you seek refuge, and people live there because you can't go anywhere. That's
and they might be very like you know, very unreceptive to change or to new things, because, you know, they're trying to preserve their culture and their life.
You can think zombie invasion, undead uprising or something like that, and all the living creatures have refuge in the city behind walls, and everyone has to man the walls at night, otherwise they will come in and take over and stuff. You can come up with weird kind of cool scenarios like that.
It's really cool. I want to go back to one thing on the privacy that Les mentioned real quick, and that is the Iron Brigade, which John's character Abdul is the lawful good group. It took them, because you have to, in order to be a citizen of Grey Oak City, you have to be there 7 years, right, until you can get full citizenship. And they got, and this is the Malden map, so it's right in this area here. But it took them all that time to finally get their own house. That long. So right off the Low Market Petit Bazaar, they finally got an establishment, and it took that long. And now I'm not saying 7 years of game time, 7 years of playing time, which is almost 7 years of real time.
Well, you have to rent a room in an inn steadily for 7 years and prove it. So
absolutely.
So,
and here's the Petit Bazaar. I just wanted to show off that on the map there, off of that we did the one adventure on of that area done up on the map. For that, so so that, you know, that's kind of the visual aspect on it. But I wanted to mention that it was a great point, Les. So here are some of my suggestions here. One is a DM, because I had to do it. You need to go outside your comfort zone right off the bat when you're doing city adventuring. You have to do it, and it's going to feel a little weird. And whether you're a sandboxer or a theater of the mind, it doesn't matter, but it's going to be a little bit of a different comfort level. You need to create. Because the city is so large, you want to create opportunities. And there could be various ones. It could be a singular one, but you want to create a series of opportunities, whether it's adventures, whether it's, you know, encounters, whether it's, you know, issues or problems, and you want to create allies, neutral NPCs, and enemies. You want to have them all. That's
definitely
it. Because even though they're doing some sort of adventure here, and they're doing some sort of mission here, there's that thorn in the side that's still there. And everyone knows I have thorns in the side all the time in my game. Lisden, and Michael Baton, they're all there, right? You know, Tim?
You could even have the evil bad guy you had out an adventure, but he's right next to you in the city, but now you can't kill him because there's rules.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to interact with bad people who are right, you know, like, but you have to.
That damned annoying neighbor who keeps playing the
Patrick
lute at
put
2
that up,
a.m.
Yeah, Patrick, you can link that in chat if you wanted to. That's fine. So, no Thrommel. Oh my gosh. Wanted to say thank you. What a massive audience tonight for the Sunday after Christmas. Wow. Thank you so very much, and thank you for this specifically for the raid and from Dr. Faust. You know, it feels like 2022, but it's not yet. So we're still winding down our 2021, and it's been a good year, and we'll do some shout outs here, and then we're gonna raid into one of my players in specials from the Slav squad. We're gonna do that tonight, and she just reached 500 followers, so give her a nice welcome when we do that. But so Anna, what's up? We're gonna start with you tonight. What's going on?
I just published the second
Double do
preview
giveaways.
and kind of the first preview of the whole new map area with some of the added stuff, so to speak. So there's still some stuff in Hipmonaland especially missing. I haven't got to the most of the cities and stuff like that, borders and stuff yet, but terrain wise it's complete. I have the frills, like the parchment area for credits and symbols and stuff like that is in there too. So the map is almost complete. I would say it's 95% complete. So it's it's getting there for my patrons. So in a few more days, a couple of more days, I will publish the for everyone to come in and look at the second preview, or the third preview will be of the 2022. And now I call it the World of Greyhawk map, Flannies and Hipmonaland edition, because now we actually have a significant portion of the whole planet in one map. And for those who are interested in pixels, it's over 40,000 pixels from one end to the other. So it's basically straining what Illustrator can do. So it's time. This will be the largest done in this technology that will be it, so to speak. So next one, and that's the major project for next year, is to take all this map data and put it in GIS system so we can use it way more effectively and stuff in the future. So that's one of the big projects for next year. And then there's more heraldry coming too, because I had to do a bunch of more that I realized that I've forgotten. There was some more Hipmonaland and some other stuff. So that's coming. Some of it is on the map in that simplistic version. There are real updated shields coming for that too. And a couple of others that I missed. And we got heraldry from Narispan from Rich Longitalos and
Cool.
and some more stuff there too. So
Hey,
yep. And the change list is growing for the map. It's kind of it's getting there. So that's basically what I've been doing the past week. Really hard getting that out the door, and now it's starting to get there. So it's a couple of I'm probably about 2 weeks behind, but I thought it was going to be worse. So yeah. An updated Förbobonk, yeah, that's something that the Förbobonk, the Hamlet and the Temple of Elemental Evil area is something I definitely want to do. I want to have, I'm working on my Shieldlands map for my campaign. That was the first large area test of mapping at real high scale, so to speak, and get the good results. I'm really pleased at the quality of the maps that I'm getting out. There are some kinks in the production of it, so to speak, because it takes a very long time, and there's some things that I realized I need to do differently. But the good thing is that technology is coming to there are new versions. So that one of the blog posts that will come here around New Year's that I will look into, and I think I have to split up my forecast for next year. One will be more kind of project wise, and one will be more tech wise, so to speak, map tech, because there's a whole bunch of interesting stuff happening there now. So So I'm starting to be a bit more hopeful to have better cool tools next year. So that might change things significantly, or it might not. We'll see. I've been disappointed. I've been hopeful and then been disappointed before. So I don't dare to say that we're home and we have a new cool tool. But on Christmas Eve, I got a new Gaia version to play with that has both rivers and tile processing. So those are the two key features that I've been missing from the Gaia tool. So if that is better than World Machine, damn, then we have some cool upgrades. So we'll see. Yep, there might be new cool toys coming. I haven't played with it yet, but so it's coming. But yeah, so there's more maps coming, more versions of this, and I need to get it out the door. That's the so it's coming, and it will be, yeah, it's getting there. I'm 2 weeks late, but yeah, I'm sorry, this is me waffling. Okay. So
but we're
just happy to get it out the door.
Yeah. So you get to see Anna a lot next week too, which is awesome. And I'll talk about that in a second. Mm-hmm. Yep. So Les, what's up?
How's it going? I've been gearing up to start up the campaign again. Like I said, we're going to be moving back in time and playing some first edition.
Nice.
Woohoo! About time, too. And I know Tim, Enoch, and a bunch of people are looking forward to that.
Fantastic.
Also cranking out I'm still working on, I've got a bunch of material that should be creating a backlog for the Oath Journal and for Cannon Fire. I've got some material I'm working on some nefarious goings on in the Great Kingdoms past. I've got some pieces on remnants of the Sul Imperium. I've got, of course, some more stuff on Safeton. I've got some of the Gnarly Forest stuff coming up. I've got a lot of material that I'm basically taking from my campaign, my personal campaign, and my notes. Some stuff on Bone March, even. I'm trying to take a bunch of material from my campaign and my notes and convert it into a nice digestible form where people can, if they so choose, integrate it into their own campaigns or take elements of it and run wild with it. Just basically take these seeds and let them grow in. Let them let them take part. Let them be part of your garden. Let them be a little element, a little detail within your larger garden, and or build upon them. You know, go ahead and graft some stuff and see what happens. So I've got a lot of that coming up. I've got probably about 12 articles that I've got lined up.
Wow.
For the next several months, so.
Well,
that's cool. Yeah.
Thank you for hopping on. I really appreciate you going over a lot of this stuff that I know I haven't delved into, and I know you have, and I really appreciate that, Les. Thank
Jay,
you.
it's always a pleasure, and I'm grateful to you for having me. It's great to be in this kind of company.
Thank you.
Great talking to you again. Yep.
John, definitely. What's up, John? Anything going on? Gotta get you back in the game, man. Whether it's BattleTech or D&D.
Maybe I have some health issues that make it really hard to game with any kind of even passing intelligence. So I'm hoping to get some stuff sorted out and maybe be able to show up more in February or so.
That'd be great.
Oh, we're looking forward to it.
That'd be fantastic. You know,
did somebody say how old am I?
No.
No one has said that.
Looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. That would be fantastic.
An octogenarian.
Yeah. So I know we had some blast going back 40 years, and keep it rolling here. And that's a great thing, is that you can always hop in anytime you're available. So
thank you.
You're my pleasure, our pleasure. Tim, the ever mysterious.
Yes, I always feel like a loser after all your other guests as far as how prolific they are, and I'm like, whoa.
I apologize.
So,
I don't have a banner for it. I'm a dumbass.
That's all right. That's okay. January 8th, the Underdogs
9 a.m.
are getting together again, and they gotta deal with Wilderness of Pain 2.
Yeah. Nice.
And so
that'll be live streamed.
I'll have 2 cameos of characters from the Dark Hand.
Nice.
That they will brush up against perchance. I'm not saying which ones.
Awesome. But yes, they will be back. The underdogs will be back. My banner is
9 o'clock Eastern.
9 Eastern time, Saturday morning, January 8th. So, and I will be miserable because I'll be back to work for 4 days after all this time off. So, yes. But hey, and then after that, we got a ton going on. So, Tim, thank you for you and your dad hopping on here. Let me go to let me show you what's going on here. So we got a full week next week, which is 3 streams. Of course, our first one, I don't have any. Adam, Mike, and I got to get together for the last Legends of Lore of the year. I don't know what the topic is yet, so we always have this issue.
We have a list of stuff.
Yes, we have a list. We gotta get our topic for Legends of Lore Wednesday night at 8.
It's the Greyhawk miscellany.
It's the Totally Bad Dude.
Yes.
Oh yeah, the
TBD.
Totally Bad Dudes. That's perfect. Yeah.
There you go.
TBD.
Yep.
We need to figure that one out. But the next night, Tim's not sure if he's able to come or remotely in. But so we're gonna do adventure number 937. The only guaranteed person from my Thursday Night Normal group that's going to be there is Bill, the Master Crafter. He'll be in person, but Mike Disney, Anna, and Tea Time with Taryn will be playing characters. So we're gonna have. Are you ready for this? Anna has her archer thief named Nira. Mike has his dwarf fighter named Narax, which is Scarn backward. And Nira, and we also have Taryn has a half-elf dual-wielding short sword fighter named Naira. So we're going to have tongue twister time, along with a couple other characters from the group Iron Fury. And this is going to be out near Fort Lamon, which is near this. And I am working on my rewrite of this awful thing. This is part of this series, Importance of a Great Apocalypse, rewriting the Doomgrinder lore. This is part 2.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and that will be a fun one-shotter. It's also Infinite Dimensions sponsor giveaway for STLs. That's Thursday night.
Jay,
Yes.
you don't like the original?
No one likes the original. No one likes the original of that.
Oh.
Yes. So, part 1 laid some groundwork. This will lay a little more lore in a one-shot. So just so you're aware, that's what's going to be going on. Sunday night. So we got Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday, a normal week with no Saturday night specials. Sunday night is the last Gabbin, the last show of 2021, and that is the Year in Review 2021. I've done a Year in Review every year since 2018. So we'll see who we can get on as guests, and we'll go over all the great things that have happened in 2021, from the ICB drinking, to the partnership, to Gary Con, where we had an entire channel, to Greyhawk Con and how great that was, and all the other things in between. So we'll talk about everything that's happened in the community and on this channel for 2021. That'll be a really fun show, and that'll be the last stream of 2021. Some streams in, some streams in 2022. I've already talked about both of these, but Legend comes back on this is the Saturday after Tim's. This is at 6 p.m. Saturday, January 15th. The group 2 drink minimum comes back. Ed Greenwood, yes, with Tony Winslow Brill, Eric Boyd, Eric Mengi, Anna, and maybe one other special guest. Yes. Yes. So there you go. And that'll be fun. The Eyes have it. I decided I don't care if it's a Rose Estes novel. I'm not changing the stupid name.
It's so cool that you didn't know that.
I did not know that it was a Rose Estes novel. I'm keeping the name. So I'm remaking that too. And that is the 15th. 2 weeks after that, the Slav Squad returns. And I don't know the adventure name on that. It's too far out, but we have all the ladies, plus Josh Pop, Zarathon in that. And we're going to be raiding into one of their channels tonight when we're done here. 2 of them are streaming together on separate channels, and I'll talk about that when we're done. But yeah, so that is what's going on in January. So we have 2 Saturday night specials. We have a Saturday morning special. So we're streaming 3 of the 4 Saturdays in January. So it'll be a great, I'm taking it back, right, Dale? So let's do these giveaways. For last call, first winner obviously is going to want the Best of Dragon Volume 3 unless they already have it for some reason. But that is the Eyes Have It was the best of her work. Well, it's going to be one of my good works with Ed Greenwood there too, Josh. Here we go. This is an original. This is the 7th one. Thank you for 7,000 followers. Really appreciate it. Remember, we got 2 others, and we'll go right down the list here. Hopefully, Jay doesn't crash the stream doing this like I do half the time. Don't hit a wrong button, Jay. Right, ready? We got anyone else? Here we go. Cathay, I'm not going to ask that question. What Ed thinks of Rose. I don't know if I should ever go there with that, but you know. Here we go. I'm closing out the entries. The winner of the Best of the Dragon Volume 3. Dun 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 dun. Celtic Boar 13.
Woo!
A regular.
Yep.
Congrats.
A regular
Yep.
here
Awesome.
is
Nice.
Celtic is on. I see
Boar.
Celtic. Celtic. Hopefully Celtic comes on and we got 2 more though. Celtic. Please say you're there, Celtic. All right. Next winner can choose. There you go.
Right.
Got it, Celtic. I think I got your address. If for some reason I don't, you get your choice of either the Temple of Elemental Evil, which was the bonus for the or the city sites and the tavern, the Book of Taverns combined to help you out creating cities. Alrighty, so you can choose the next winner, and oh gosh, I just shut out this. Everyone, hit drawing again. I just did it again. Hit exclamation point drawing. I closed it out.
Golf clap.
Oh shit! Hit exclamation drawing again. Yes, I'll give you my bad. See, I knew I was gonna do something idiotic.
Jay, your new nickname is Wrong Button.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
There's too many buttons
Wrong
on
Button,
here.
Jay.
Too many buttons. I am a dumbass sometimes.
Is that a halfling name?
Yes, go for it. We got 2 more. Just keep on hitting. I'll give you guys
Yeah.
another minute. Yeah.
Jay made Wrong Button.
And
One of
note,
the
and note this, and note this. It does. I don't have to worry about like, oh wow, we got a lot of viewers on. I want to keep them on for another 5-10 minutes. Doesn't matter anymore. You know, it doesn't matter. Those days are long gone. So it has to do with me being stupid, hitting the wrong button there. So, yes, thank you for saying that. Chubby fingers, stupid fingers. Last call. All right, last call.
Chubby
Hit any
fingers.
key. Last call. I'll give you 20 more seconds. Ah, thanks. I just do dumb things sometimes. All right, well, we got Celtic so far, so I need
This might increase my chance of winning.
It could. So, well, thank you. See, my mother. This is a mother joke because we love you anyway. You know, if I've ever told this joke, I gotta tell it. This isn't really a joke. This is a real story. My mother has some bad days sometimes, and my mother got my wife on the phone one time and said, "I swear to God, I'm not making this up." She said to my wife, "I'm so glad you married Jay. I know no one else would have." There you go.
Aw.
So you can't ever say anything worse than that. So, but you know, that's just mother talk. So here we go.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes.
She meant because it was destined.
Yeah, it was destiny. I'm gonna close these out. Here we go. Next winner. Siderin. There you go. Siderin 77. There, nice regular. Which one do you want, Siderin? Met in the nicest possible way. Siderin. You tell me which one you want, Siderin. Do you want the Temple of Elemental Evil or these 2? Your call, Siderin. And then the third winner. And then sit by. We're gonna raid into Little Bones 309. But I want you then to, if you can, open up a second window and also watch on Darling Creep Show if you're going to stick around so that they get viewers. It's both. Remember, you can have 2 open. Siderin, Siderin tell me which one he wanted? He had to have just redone it. Right? Because I reopened it. He had to have redone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, if Siderin doesn't say which one, then this person will get it, and then he'll get what's left. Yeah, we're going to do that in Little Bones, both of them. GD.
There he is.
Yeah, Siderin, which one? Not the Temple. Okay. So you want this? You want these 2? City sites and that, Siderin. And GD, you get, and I know I have your address. I think I just sent you something recently, the Temple of Elemental Evil. Awesome. Hopefully everyone had a good time tonight. Thank you, John. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Les.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you,
You
community.
guys.
well over 100 people. It makes me feel so good that we're just continuing to grow the community. 2022, let's have a great year in 2022. And we'll start talking about 2022 starting, Wednesday night, Legends of the Lore, whatever our topic is. We'll start rolling about what we're all going to do. Thank you. All right, we're going to rate in the Little Bones 309, Lindsay, who plays Devin, the bandit, in the Slav Squad. All righty. See you all Wednesday night, and have a nice enjoy your vacation and holidays, as I'm going to definitely. So have a little more fun till I got to go back to work. I feel like I'm going to see Spider-Man tomorrow. Finally, haven't seen it yet. Yeah. All right. Will I hit a wrong button here? Maybe.
It's good. It's good. You like it.
Awesome. All right, rating. Setting up the raid. Okay. She doesn't know it's coming, but I told Darling that because I've raided the Darling before, so I'm gonna raid into Little Bones tonight. Let me set this raid up. I'd love to get like 90 people. That would be so awesome. No, they're 90. Wow. Am I psychic there, Anna? 92. 93. Wow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. See you Wednesday. Wow. I want to see how excited she is. She's gonna throw up.
Excellent.